Chapter 1475, So vicious. Nie Jinchen laughed loudly, then his face twisted. He kicked Feng Lianying hard. Feng Lianying screamed in pain. Until she finally couldn't take it anymore, she begged for mercy. Nie Jinchen smiled and said, "Don't worry, I will crush your throat, blind your eyes and destroy your face later, then I will sell you to the barbaric tribe in the extreme north. At that time, no one will know that you, Feng Lianying, are still alive. And I will take your token to Thousand Poison Valley and tell the master of Thousand Poison Valley that you have been killed by Nangong Yu. Ha ha ha. At that time, I will get the true inheritance of the master of Thousand Poison Valley. You, Feng Lianying, will be tortured for the rest of your life in that barren land and wait for your miserable death." Feng Lianying's eyes widened in horror. She couldn't believe her ears. She looked up at Nie Jinchen's distorted face as if she didn't know this man who was once obsessed with her. Feng Lianying was extremely angry and hated, wishing to rip Nie Jinchen apart. However, at this moment, her heart was occupied by fear the most. Her face was wet with tears. She wanted to grab the corner of Nie Jinchen's robe, but found that her hands were in severe pain. Her tendons were actually severed. Feng Lianying was even more frightened. She couldn't help crying, "Nie Jinchen, don't you like me? Why are you doing this to me? I like you too. I'm willing to spend the rest of my life with you. Can you let me go?" Nie Jinchen lowered his head, looked at her with disgust, and sneered, "Like me? If you like me, you will command me like a dog. If you like me, you will push me into the magical beasts and let me be your scapegoat. Feng Lianying, don't flatter yourself. Do you think that I will still like you after you were tarnished by those men? Let me tell you, I hate you to the extreme on the way here. I follow you because I want to let you taste what it's like to be a dog with my own hands and see your miserable end." Nie Jinchen, how can you be so vicious? Feng Lianying screamed loudly, "You will not succeed. Even if you take my token, my master will." Before Feng Lianying finished speaking, Nie Jinchen had cut her throat. Feng Lianying widened her mouth, but she could only make a broken and desperate sound. Nie Jinchen sneered and said, "Listening to your voice for a moment longer makes me sick. Feng Lianying, the people from the barbaric tribe I contacted will come here soon. Your hell is waiting for you." Feng Lianying stared in horror, watching Nie Jinchen's sword stabbing toward her eyes. A miserable scream sounded through the sky. With Feng Lianying's deep resentment and unwillingness, and the despair of never turning back. Ouyang Haoxuan followed Feng Lianying's trail all the way, and he flew to the extreme northern ice land. But after arriving at the extreme northern ice land, the clues were divided into two. One was in the direction of the jungle, and the other was deep in the glacier. Ouyang Haoxuan only thought for a moment, then he went to the jungle. After flying for a certain distance, he saw a barbaric tribe. The people here were all dressed in animal skins and bone ornaments, lived in caves and houses made of mud embryos, and had spiritual power. However, most of them were only at the qi refining stage and the foundation establishment stage. Chapter 1476, The Ending of Feng Lianying. These people were startled when they saw Ouyang Haoxuan. They all made exclaims of unknown meanings. This was their language. Ouyang Haoxuan couldn't understand. He stood on the canopy and soon saw a woman placed in the center of the altar. The woman was completely naked. There were bloodstains of severed tendons on her hands and feet, her face was sliced several times, her one eye was gouged out, and the other eye was full of fear and despair. She opened her mouth trying to speak, but she could only make a click sound. There were several men wrapped in animal skins surrounding her, taking out copper-sharp knives as if they wanted to cut off the flesh from the woman as a sacrificial offering. Ouyang Haoxuan appeared on top of the altar and glanced as the woman who was being sacrificed. As soon as the woman saw him, her only eye immediately widened, her broken throat made a clicking sound, and her body began to struggle violently. There was pleading in her tearful eyes. Ouyang Haoxuan slightly sneered. Even a fool could see the joy in his eyes. Feng Lianying. This really is a suitable ending for you. Good luck then. After laughing, Ouyang Haoxuan jumped up and flew straight toward the glacier. On Feng Lianying's side, the tribesmen who had stopped the sacrificial activities after being frightened were finally relieved. Some of them lit a fire, some danced in feathered clothes, and some took a knife to slice off Feng Lianying's meat piece by piece. There was peace and tranquility beyond the deep mountains. No one knew that the former miss of the Feng family, the sought-after Ice Lotus Fairy, was suffering her tragic ending here. The temperature in the extreme northern ice land was below -40 to 50 degrees all year round. Even high-level martial artists would not be able to withstand it if they stayed here for a long time. Nie Jinchen's already cold teeth were chattering. His eyebrows and hair were covered with frost. However, he had been searching here for a day, but he still hadn't found the entrance to Thousand Poison Valley. The Thousand Poison Valley token found on Feng Lianying did not respond either. If he still couldn't find the place, he would freeze to death here. As he was thinking about whether to leave the glacier first and think of a way. Suddenly, a flaming red sword light rushed toward him. Nie Jinchen was frightened. He hurriedly channeled spiritual power to move back, but the flames still brushed against his shoulder. Severe burning pain came from his shoulder, and he couldn't help screaming. Ouyang Haoxuan slowly descended from the sky with the red lotus sword in his hand. The thin clothes rattled fiercely in the glacier. It was obviously -50 degrees, but Ouyang Haoxuan didn't seem to feel the cold at all. There was even a leisurely smile on his handsome face. Ouyang Haoxuan. Nie Jinchen exclaimed, why are you here? What do you want to do? Ouyang Haoxuan smiled faintly with a bloodthirsty gleam in his eyes. What am I doing here? Of course, I'm here to wipe out the members of the Feng family. I'm not from the Feng family. Nie Jinchen felt deep fear. He remembered that the young master of the Ouyang family was only at the gold core stage, but the person standing in front of him gave him the illusion that he was completely unmatched. I even also killed Feng Lianying. I even avenge your Ouyang family. The Feng family you want to kill has nothing to do with me. Chapter 1477, Master of Thousand Poison Valley. Ouyang Haoxuan squinted slightly and said with a light smile, yeah. You're not from the Feng family, and you didn't harm me either. But, you once wanted to kill Xi Yue, right? I'm really sorry. Everyone who wanted to kill Xi Yue should all die. Before Ouyang Haoxuan finished speaking, he already soared into the sky, and the red lotus sword was shining with dazzling fire and rushing toward Nie Jinchen. Nie Jinchen's eyes widened in horror. The flames were about to hit his face, and the fiery aura seemed to burn his skin. Suddenly, there was a ding. A white light flashed and deflected the red lotus sword. Ouyang Haoxuan stepped back more than 10 meters and looked at a group of people in white clothes who suddenly appeared not far away. The leader was a slender woman in white. She had a white veil covering her face, revealing only a pair of soul-stirring watery eyes. However, the woman in white was not standing, she was sitting on top of a giant unicorn. Around her were several handsome, slender young men with cold expressions and 2 women who had veils on their faces. As soon as Nie Jinchen saw the woman in white, he cried and rushed over, Valley Master, help me. Ouyang Haoxuan frowned slightly, and his heart tightened. He had heard about the relationship between the Valley Master of the Thousand Poison Valley and the Feng family from Xi Yue. She was Feng Lianying's master and the most mysterious person in the entire Miluo continent. Bai Hu once said that the master of the Thousand Poison Valley was actually not belonged to the Miluo continent, but from the upper realm. The woman in white looked down at Nie Jinchen who was rushing in front of her, and she suddenly raised her bare hand. The Thousand Poison Valley token in Nie Jinchen's arms was in her hand. Nie Jinchen's eyes flashed, and he cried even more mournfully, Valley Master, please avenge the Feng family and Sister Lianying. The Feng family was wiped out by the King of Hell Mansion and Sister Lianying was brutally murdered by Nangong Yu and Xi Yue. They are really miserable. I want to revenge, but I'm not Nangong Yu's opponent. I was even hunted by them to this extreme north. Please help me, Valley Master. The eyes of the woman in white froze. She jumped off the unicorn. The young man next to her immediately stepped forward and served her attentively, looking at her with eyes filled with passion and love. The woman in white seemed to be used to such a scene. She rubbed the token in her hand and said to Nie Jinchen, "You said Feng family was destroyed and Lianying died too. And it was Nangong Yu who did it. How did Nangong Yu have such power?" "Valley Master, it's true," Nie Jinchen said hastily. "This has spread in the entire Miluo continent. Everyone knows that it was Nangong Yu who exterminated the Feng family. Moreover, the person who eliminated Luli's sect was also Nangong Yu. Nangong Yu, this ungrateful bastard. If the Feng family hadn't saved him, he would have died long ago. However, he turned against Feng family just because of Xi Yu, and he even wiped out the Feng family. Valley Master, Sister Lianying died so miserably, you must avenge her." Did Nie Jinchen hate Nangong Yu? Of course, he did, and he hated him to the extreme. He had a crush on Feng Lianying since he was a child, but Feng Lianying treated him like a dog for Nangong Yu. She didn't care about his life or death at all. In Feng family and Luli sect, although he was a senior and he had been talented since he was a child, no one had ever taken him seriously. Because in everyone's mind, the real genius was only Nangong Yu, not even Feng Yunjing could be compared with him. Chapter 1478, Old Woman. Therefore, Nie Jinchen hated Feng Lianying and wanted this woman to end miserably, but he hated Nangong Yu even more. In his dreams, he wanted to see Nangong Yu fall into the abyss and end up in the same desperation as him. "Nangong," the woman in white murmured in a trance, then she looked at Nie Jinchen with her beautiful eyes. "Xi Yu, is he Nangong Yu's favorite toy boy?" Nie Jinchen was taken aback. He knew that Xi Yu was a woman, but when he heard the woman in white asking, he said without hesitation, "That's right, Nangong Yu disregards the ethical guidelines just for a toy boy. Obviously, Sister Lianying grew up with him, but he even killed Sister Lianying for a toy boy. You said it was Nangong Yu who killed Lianying?" The woman in white suddenly chuckled. She suddenly injected spiritual power into the token. The next moment, a white light curtain appeared in front of Nie Jinchen. It showed the scene of Nie Jinchen crushing Feng Lianying's throat, stabbing her blind in one eye, and selling her to the barbarian tribe. Nie Jinchen's eyes widened in horror. His body trembled with fear. The girl standing behind the woman in white sneered and said, "Where do you think our Thousand Poison Valley is, and what is the token of Thousand Poison Valley? Do you think anyone can simply impersonate? You sold my senior sister and wanted to blame Nangong Yu. Nie Jinchen, do you really think my master is so easy to be deceived?" "Valley Master. Valley Master." Nie Jinchen snapped back to his senses. He knelt and crawled toward the woman in white. "Valley Master, I know I was wrong, but I really didn't kill Feng Lianying. I can take you there to look for her." "Please let me go," the woman in white frowned in disgust. The girl beside her immediately took a step forward and sprinkled medicinal powder on him. Before Nie Jinchen finished begging for mercy, he suddenly let out a shrill scream. Immediately afterward, his body slowly turned into a pile of mud at a speed visible to the naked eye. The flesh and blood were evaporated in the freezing cold. What was left was a black lump of suspicious objects that exuded the smell of corpses. The girl didn't feel disgusted at all, but she said happily, "Master, our man-eating flowers have fertilizer again." As she spoke, she collected the lump of black stuff and put it into her portable void. In the portable void, there was a field of tens of acres, on which various spiritual plants were planted. One of the plants was like sunflower-like flower, but the center of the flower was a ferocious human face. The girl put Nie Jinchen's corpse on the field ridge and threw in a black seed. Immediately, a huge flower with Nie Jinchen's face appeared in the field, revealing a ferocious and distorted smile in the light of the void crystal stone. The woman in white looked at Ouyang Haoxuan. The soul-stirring eyes scanned Ouyang Haoxuan from top to bottom, then she suddenly smiled and said, I don't care who you are, as long as you are willing to become my toy boy, I will let you go and let you have a better future. As the woman in white spoke, she slowly approached Ouyang Haoxuan. Her eyes reflected a tempting brilliant, my patience is not very good. Now, can you give me an answer? Ouyang Haoxuan chuckled, which was obviously an elegant and lazy move, but the smile in his eyes contained deep irony. I'm so sorry, I'm not interested in serving an old woman. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know, report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip, you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1479, Old cow chewing tender grass. The woman in white stopped. Her gaze became blurred and distant. Looking at the handsome man in front of her, she seemed to see the tall and straight man with an evil smile decades ago. Nangong Outyen. That was the first time I was so obsessed with a man, wanted him so much, wanted to possess him. I even let go of my airs as a young lady and humbled myself, hoping to gain his affection and become his wife. But what did Nangong Outyen respond to me? It was the unhesitating contempt and sarcasm, the dismissive eyes that treated me like a trash. That man even married low-rank martial artists who had no background or strength at all, threw my heart into the mud, trampled and humiliated me, and made me the laughingstock of the entire Siam continent. Nangong Outyen and Yun Churen, these two people who brought me unforgettable hatred. I will never forget them in my life. Even if the two of them die, so what? The child will pay off their debt. I will let the son of that bitch, Yun Churen, taste the pain of despair and torture like hell. Lu Wushuang took a deep breath and looked at Ouyang Haoxuan again. This man's appearance is not as good as Nangong Outyen's, but the evil enchanting aura exuding from him is so similar to Nangong Outyen's. I must let this proud man bow his head, kneel and lick my toes, and become my captive. Thinking of this, Lu Wushuang sneered slightly, are you Xi Yu's subordinate? I heard that Xi Yu is only at the foundation establishment stage. You, a martial artist at the nascent soul stage, are willing to follow behind a foundation establishment stage. You are also seduced by that toy boy. She suddenly waved her hand lightly, removing the veil on her face. A beautiful face was revealed. What do you think? Is my appearance comparable to Xi Yu's? If I say, I can give you more than Xi Yu, can improve your strength, and let you enjoy the otherworldly feeling, are you willing to abandon Xi Yu and follow me? Ouyang Haoxuan looked down at her face. His eyes were calm without any expression. Lu Wushuang wasn't reconciled, so she waved behind her. Two young men immediately came forward. One kissed Lu Wushuang's fingers reverently, the other sniffed the fragrance of Lu Wushuang's body intoxicatedly, and a pair of trembling hands stroked Lu Wushuang's soft waist and body. They both breathed heavily. Although the scene in front was not an entanglement of bodies, it could make the blood of all the men surge. The other toy boys behind Lu Wushuang already had fiery eyes, eager to rush up and replace them. Lu Wushuang's heart was full of certainty. Except for Nangong Outyen, no man in the world can resist such beauty. As long as Ouyang Haoxuan is enchanted, I can completely make this man my captive. Ouyang Haoxuan watched this scene for a long time, and he finally sneered and let out a low laugh. Lu Wushuang originally raised her head, making a slight seductive moaning motion. Ouyang Haoxuan sneered, it's really disgusting to see a group of tender grass being chewed by an old cow. You guys go ahead. I won't bother you. After speaking, he turned and left ruthlessly. Lu Wushuang was astounded. The anger in her chest gushed out, almost distorting her entire face. Suddenly, she shouted, transfigure an ice sword in her hand, and rushed toward Ouyang Haoxuan, court death. Chapter 1480, Broken Arm. Ouyang Haoxuan's eyes focused, and the red lotus sword soared into the sky, going at Lu Wushuang's attack without hesitation. After 15 minutes, everything in the glacier returned to tranquility. However, there was a big puddle of blood and a severed arm on the glacier. The blood even splashed all over Lu Wushuang's body, reflecting Lu Wushuang's livid face. Lu Wushuang's disciples and Toyboys tremble with fear. Lu Wushuang gritted her teeth and looked at the broken arm on the ground in disbelief. Never mind that he rejected my lure, but when my ice prison was about to trap him, he actually used flames to cut off the ice prison together with his own arm without hesitation. Then, he quickly ran away. Even when he gave up his arm, there was a gentle smile on his mouth as if he was missing something interesting, as if what he gave up was not an arm at all, but an insignificant piece of garbage. Good. Good. Lu Wushuang gritted her teeth and sneered, Xi Yu. I want to see, who can make Nangong you and make other men fall in love with him to such extent. What kind of fox is he? Ouyang Haoxuan, we shall see. Do you think you can escape from my palm? The girl behind Lu Wushuang took a step forward and asked cautiously, Master, shall we go save senior sister Feng? Save her. Lu Wushuang sneered. Her face was full of disgust and sarcasm. She can't even deal with a man. What a waste of all my hard work on her in the past few years. This kind of trash deserves to end up like that. The huge airship landed slowly on the square of Miracle Healer Academy. At this time, the Miracle Healer Academy was already crowded with people. Even Dean Lianying, who seldom appeared in public, was standing on the high platform of the square, looking nervously at the huge airship above the sky. The hatch of the airship opened, and students and elders descended from the sky one by one. Seeing that almost 90% of the people returned safely, Lianying was finally relieved. After the students left, he got Golden Wolf's plan from above. Golden Wolf actually used his students and elders as bait to hunt the beastkins in the magical beast forest. When Lianying heard the news, he lost balance as if he was struck by lightning. He never expected that the people in Mojing Pavilion could be so ruthless. He never expected that a compromise of his own would send all the students into hell. However, Lianying did not expect that he would receive a message from Deputy Dean Jiang 2 days ago. The students and elders were all fine, only a few died. The others were on their way back safely. How could he not be excited and nervous? Many of the students who landed from the sky couldn't help sobbing when they saw the familiar scenery and friends in front of them. Some, who were emotionally sensitive, even threw themselves into the arms of their friends and burst into tears. This short half-month seemed like a nightmare to them. They thought they were going to die, but they narrowly escaped death and returned. Lianying excitedly grabbed Deputy Dean Jiang's hand and asked him about his experience in the magical beast forest. When he heard Deputy Dean Jiang say that the Doctors' Association was the accomplice behind the scenes, and they were finally rescued because of Xi Yu, he just felt incredible. Lianying looked around, trying to find Xi Yu and ask him about his situation, but she was no longer around. Chapter 1481, Are You Jealous Again? Zheng Shouyue stopped Lianying from asking Xi Yu to come and said with a sullen face, Dean, we must discuss how to deal with those greedy guys from the upper realm. If we continue to be enslaved by them like this, not to mention those innocent students, even the tens of thousands of years of Miracle Healer Academy, might be destroyed at once. Lianying's expression froze. He nodded, greeted several branch deans and Deputy Dean Jiang, and walked toward the dean room. At this time, Hexi had returned to the dormitory with Nangong Yu. Nangong Yu had already made up his mind to go back to organize the wedding with Hexi, so he planned to have a deep intimate moment with her at the dormitory. Then, he would leave quickly. However, as soon as he returned to the dormitory, Nangong Yu's face turned gloomy. In the empty and simple dormitory, there was a man with a stern expression and a black robe. Who else would he be, if he wasn't Xianmu who disappeared in the teleportation array in the magical beast forest? Hexi was also surprised to see Xianmu, but more happy. She was worried that Xianmu would be sent into the turbulence of time and space in the teleportation array. When did you come back? Xianmu's expression was as cold as ever, but his gloomy eyes looked deeply at Hexi before saying faintly, 3 days ago. Seeing that he didn't want to mention the matter in the magical beast forest, Hexi didn't intend to ask more. She was about to walk over to clean her bed with the dust removal technique. Nangong Yu was not happy. He gritted his teeth. Sheer, are you going to continue staying with him in this dormitory after I leave? Hexi blinked, looking at the man with a livid face. There was a hint of smile in his eyes. Nangong Yu, are you jealous again? I think I should explain, but His Highness King of Hell, who cares about me so much and is as unhappy as a child who can't eat the candy, is very cute. Should I remind him that in the past few months, I have been alone with Xianmu day and night? It's better not to, lest he really get mad. Hexi grabbed Nangong Yu's hand with a gentle smile. Should I apply to transfer to a single dormitory? Nangong Yu was taken aback for a moment. Realizing that Hexi was compromising with him, a happy smile emerged uncontrollably in his eyes. He was about to agree, but Xianmu's cold voice came from beside him. If you want Xi Yu's dormitory door to be trampled down by the whole academy, you can let him move. Nangong Yu's words stuck in his throat. Then that Peerless handsome face turned gloomy bit by bit. Yes, how can I forget that? How popular my Xi'er is in this miracle healer academy. It's okay to share a room with Xianmu since other people dare not disturb at will. If she switches to a single dormitory, will there be little white faces like Wei Chengyuan and Jin Ziyu coming to her door every night and putting their arms on Xiayu's shoulder without any scruples? Thinking of this, Nangong Yu seemed to be drowned in jealousy. He wished to hide his princess from anyone. Nangong Yu took a deep breath and glanced coldly at Xianmu, then he lightly pressed his hand on Hexi's shoulder and said in hatred, moving the dormitory is not necessary. But, I will let Qinghuan move in. Hexi couldn't help laughing out loud. Nangong Yu couldn't hear it. In her void, the little traitor, Little Egg, kept shouting, don't worry, Daddy. Little Egg will definitely protect Mother's chastity. I will never let this black-faced guy and others people take advantage of Mom. Chapter 1482, Friend Hexi coughed lightly and nodded obediently. Okay, I will listen to you. Nangong Yu stared at her with deep reluctance and love in his eyes. He hugged her soft body into his arms tightly. Sheer, I really want to hold you forever and never separate from you. Hexi leaned obediently in Nangong Yu's arms, wrapping his waist lightly. There was a happy smile on her lips. When I go back, I will start planning our marriage. I will tell them that you are the only one I want to marry. Nangong Yu whispered, Sheer, wait for me. Don't reject me, okay? Tell them. Who are they? Hexi was slightly stunned, but she didn't speak yet. Nangong Yu let go of her and quickly disappeared as if deliberately not giving her a chance to refuse the marriage proposal. Hexi smiled helplessly. Her expression was full of sweetness and doting. She completely forgot the questions in her mind. Turning around, she met Xianmu's deep and complicated eyes. Hexi did not explore the meaning in Xianmu's eyes, but she raised her hand and threw a bottle of medicine to Xianmu. This is the grade 6. Meridian cleansing pill, I just refined. Nangong Yu has already tried it. It also works a little bit for the soul-splitting stage. On the airship, Hexi was idle and bored, so she tried to refine higher-grade medicinal pills in the void. Sure enough, after her cultivation had improved, it became easy for her to refine grade 6 medicinal pills. Even, Hexi felt that it was no problem for her to refine grade 7 medicinal pills. It's just that it took too long to refine grade 7 medicinal pills. She hadn't had a chance to try it yet. Xianmu took the medicinal pills, and his eyes became more complicated. How do you know? Hexi smiled, I'm at least a doctor who is better than the president of the Doctors Association. Will I not notice your injury? This injury was the same as Nangong Yu's, which was obviously caused by being strangled by the force of space during the teleportation process. Nangong Yu's injury had healed automatically when absorbing Jade Fire Toad, but Xianmu's injury was obviously not healed yet. Xianmu looked down at the porcelain bottle in his hand, and his gaze looked distant. Why did you help me? Hexi raised her eyebrows with a look of surprise. It seems like you helped me over and over again first. I don't like to owe favors. I thought you would treat me as a friend. Is it not? Xianmu raised his head abruptly. His expression looked stiff and unbearable. After a while, he closed his eyes, opened the porcelain bottle, poured a medicine and swallowed it. Hexi smiled. Accepting help without saying thank you, isn't this treating me as a friend? She didn't say anything more. She jumped onto the bed, threw herself into the warm and soft blanket, and fell into a deep sleep. This time, her consciousness didn't even sink into the void. She just simply fell asleep. In the past 10 days, she was really tired. Not only physically tired, but also mentally tired. All she wanted now was to get a good night's sleep. Xianmu looked at her slender back for a long time before returning to his bed. At this moment, he had already made up his mind. Regardless of whether the wood source was related to Xi Yue or not, no matter what Xi Yue's real identity was, he would not investigate further. He acted as if he didn't know anything, and Xi Yue was just his roommate, his friend. Friend, how rare and distant is this to him? Chapter 1483, Real backer in the Dean Room of the Miracle Healer Academy, Jean Licheng, with a gloomy face, listened to the narration of Deputy Dean Jiang and others. Putting aside Golden Wolf's ruthlessness, he did not expect that the Doctors' Association and Lu Xiyang would be so despicable and shameless. They used their Miracle Healer Academy students and elders as stepping stones. As for what Lu Zhishi said that Lu Xiyang didn't know, he didn't believe a word. The current Doctors' Association was under the total command of Lu Xiyang. It was a big joke to say that Lu Xiyang had no knowledge of what the elders of the association had done. However, Lu Xiyang was backed by people from the upper realm. This time, the upper realm asked them to capture the beastkin, but they didn't catch a single one. Golden Wolf and his people would definitely not let this end well. Li Chengquan from Heaven Medical Branch was the most irritable. He couldn't help but slap the table and said angrily, "Is there really nothing we can do after being used by those bastards of the Doctors' Association? At least that little bastard Lu Zhishi, we must throw her into Spirit Extinct Valley and let her suffer punishment." Spirit Extinct Valley was one of the most forbidden areas of Miracle Healer Academy. It was also the most terrifying place. When it was revealed that Cai Yu framed Xi Yue, he was thrown into the Spirit Extinct Valley. Deputy Dean Jiang frowned and said, "If we really punish Lu Zhishi, will Lu Xiyang go easy on us? Now we don't even know if we can escape Mojing Pavilion's revenge. Could it be that the upper realm only has those scums in the Mojing Pavilion?" Li Chengquan gritted his teeth. "I heard that their Green Vine clan is nothing in the upper realm. At least the one in Beijing Pavilion is far more powerful than them. Can't we turn to the Venerable for help?" Everyone present looked at each other with complicated and bitter expressions. Jean Licheng chuckled, his voice was low and hoarse. "Venerable Huiyu is naturally powerful, but why should he help us? In the eyes of the people in the upper realm, we are nothing more than small ants and casually raised spiritual pets. After the spiritual pets are well raised, they just pick a few to be their loyal subordinates. If they are not well raised, they will be trampled to death at will. No one cares about the life and death of spiritual pets. Do you think, Venerable Huiyu, or any force in the upper realm, will fight against the Green Vine clan for spiritual pets like us?" Jean Licheng's words made everyone present feel heavy and look ugly. No one wanted to admit their humbleness, but in the eyes of upper realm people, they were just like ants. Zheng Shouyue gritted his teeth and said, "Could it be that we can just be like this forever? Letting the Green Vine clan wantonly humiliate and trample us and letting that despicable Lu Xiyang show off in front of us?" Zheng Shouyue still remembered to this day that his proud student back then was brutally tortured to death because he offended someone from the Mojing Pavilion. He resisted desperately, but there was nothing he could do except to be beaten to the brink of death. If he hadn't still had feelings for the Huang Medical Branch and his friend, Jean Licheng, he would have left this disgusting place long ago. Jean Licheng smiled wryly and said self-deprecatingly, unless our Miracle Healer Academy can produce a powerful character who can ascend to the Siam continent and gain a firm foothold in the upper realm, then maybe we will have real backing and protection. When Jean Licheng said this, Deputy Dean Jiang and other elders who had experienced the magical beast forest battle couldn't help but look at each other in blank dismay. They coincidentally thought of a name, Xi Yue. Chapter 1484, Blame. If there was a person in this Miracle Healer Academy who could really ignore the difference between the upper realm and the lower realm and could ascend to the Siam continent in just a few decades, it was definitely Xi Yue. Deputy Dean Jiang murmured, Dean, from today, I want to put all the best resources in the academy on Xi Yue alone. Only she is the hope to change the future of our Miracle Healer Academy. Before Deputy Dean Jiang finished speaking, a Dean disciple's exclamation suddenly came from outside the door, How could you barge in here? As soon as the sentence finished, the door sealed with spiritual power was gently pushed open. A man in a long scholar gown walked into the room with a few strange men behind him. As soon as they saw the person coming, the faces of Deputy Dean Jiang and others immediately became extremely ugly. Li Qingxuan even rushed toward him without even thinking, Lu Xuyang, you still have the face to appear in Miracle Healer Academy. His fist was condensed with powerful spiritual power. Even if this fist hit the rock, it would collapse it. However, Lu Xuyang didn't seem to care. He lightly grasped Li Qingxuan's fist and shook it aside. Li Qingxuan was thrown to the ground by him in embarrassment. Lu Xuyang smiled lightly and said, Dean Jean, is that how you welcome old friends? Dean Huang hurried over to help Li Qingxuan up. When he detected that his meridians were injured, he was shocked to his core. Lu Xuyang's original cultivation is only at the peak of the nascent soul stage. Although he was stronger than us, the gap is not that big, but now, he could injure the Dean of Heaven medical branch with a single casual blow? Jean Licheng's face was very gloomy. Lu Xuyang, I haven't settled the score with you for harming the students and elders of Miracle Healer Academy, but you dare to break in. You really think that we Miracle Healer Academy is afraid of you? Lu Xuyang slowly showed a gentle and elegant smile, but in the eyes of Zheng Shouyue and others, he looked like the most poisonous snake, making people disgusted and hated. Jean Dean must be joking. I, Lu Xuyang, have always respected Miracle Healer Academy, and even sent my only precious daughter to study there. How can Dean say that I harmed the Miracle Healer Academy? Li Qingxuan held his chest and yelled, It is an ironclad fact that people of the Doctors Association set us up in the magical beast forest, but you still want to argue. Don't tell me that you don't even know about it. Lu Xuyang suddenly stretched out his hand to grab an old man, kicked him to the ground, and said with a chuckle, Oh, about that. I have already investigated that this matter was done by Elder Shen alone. I also just found out. I didn't expect that Elder Shen had been lurking in the Doctors Association for many years would have such evil intentions. He secretly bribed the people. Now, in order to put the blame on me, he even harmed the people of Miracle Healer Academy. It's really hard to know the true face of everyone. I really didn't expect to be deceived by this person for so many years. Lu Xuyang, you bastard. You will die horribly. You're the one who, the old man surnamed Shen shouted angrily, but before he could finish speaking, Lu Xuyang had already slapped his head with his palm. Elder Shen's brain burst suddenly. He died on the spot. Lu Xuyang took out a handkerchief and wiped his hands, then he smiled and said, Since the culprit has been dealt with, I believe that Miracle Healer Academy will not hold us accountable anymore, right? Jean Licheng and Zheng Shouyue glanced at each other with horrified pale faces. Chapter 1485, Arrogant Elder Shen of the Doctors Association was the only one in the Doctors Association who opposed Lu Xuyang's actions. Because of his cultivation was at the peak of nascent soul stage and the fact that there were people behind him, Lu Xuyang had been unable to do anything about him. But now, he killed Elder Shen so easily. Where did Lu Xuyang get his confidence, and how could he suddenly have such a terrifying strength? Deputy Dean Jiang swallowed and stared at Lu Xuyang fiercely. President Lu, are you here today just to show off your power? What exactly do you want? There was a hint of pride and madness in Lu Shiyang's eyes. He smiled leisurely. Nothing, I just hope that my innocent daughter, Xi, can continue to study in Miracle Healer Academy. For her safety, I want to assign 2 guards for her. As Lu Xiyang said, 2 strange men came forward behind him. Each of them had the cultivation of nascent soul later stage, but they didn't seem to be from the Doctors' Association. Impossible. Zheng Shouyue said angrily. Lu Zhishi wanted to kill Shiyu. Everyone saw it with their own eyes. She must be punished. Lu Xiyang sneered. Dean Zheng, do you remember how your favorite student died back then? Could it be that Dean Zheng wants this one to die again? Zheng Shouyue's face suddenly changed drastically. He glared at Lu Xiyang with hatred. What does Lu Xiyang mean? He wants to harm Shiyu. He dares. Or does Dean Jean want to disregard the safety of all Miracle Healer Academy students just to stand up for a student from the Huang medical branch? Jean Liqing was speechless and full of anger, but he could only bear it. Lu Xiyang looked at the people in the room and smiled mockingly, then he turned and left. This bunch of trash is destined to linger in this lower realm for a lifetime. And I, Lu Xiyang, have a glorious future waiting for me. Lu Xiyang's domineering comings and goings made the elders of Miracle Healer Academy tremble with anger, almost going crazy. But the strength Lu Xiyang showed and the power behind him shocked them. We just let this despicable Lu Xiyang do whatever he wants like this. Li Qingxuan roared unwillingly, but it agitated his wound, which made him cough violently again. Dean Huang looked at the crowd, and he suddenly said in a deep voice, now that Lu Zhishi's insidiousness has been proven, Cai Yu was probably wronged back then. Should we release Cai Yu from Spirit Extinct Valley? For this student who was extremely talented in forging, Dean Huang had always been thinking about him. Although it might be too late to release him now, a few days in Spirit Extinct Valley could abolish anyone. What's more, Cai Yu had been in for several months. Lu Xiyang left Miracle Healer Academy and soon returned to his mansion in the Doctors' Association. As soon as he entered the door, he felt a powerful aura. Without much thought, Lu Xiyang turned around and knelt down with a respectful expression, Sir Silver Fox. Not far ahead, a young man in white slowly appeared. He wore a silver mask with special runes on his face, showing only a pair of deep eyes. Silver Fox waved his hand at him, examined Lu Xiyang up and down, and said with a half-smile, "Congratulations to President Lu. Your strength has improved again. Your devouring ability is really terrifyingly powerful." Chapter 1486, Idiot. Lu Xiyang hurriedly said respectfully, "It's just an insignificant skill. Please don't laugh at me, sir." After a pause, he hesitated and said, "Sir, have you found Sir Golden Wolf?" Silver Fox squinted with a hint of ruthlessness, "I found him." Lu Xiyang raised his head abruptly, but before he looked joyful, Silver Fox continued, "However, he is now an idiot who has lost both cultivation and mind." What? Lu Xiyang raised his head in shock and disbelief. He was really shocked. The Green Vince clan wasn't the strongest in the upper realm, but it was still a moderate force. Golden Wolf was the most powerful subordinate under the Lord. Who could kidnap Golden Wolf and turn him into a fool? Silver Fox stared at Lu Xiyang and slowly said, "Although Golden Wolf is an idiot now, after he came back, he kept muttering about the wood source." President Lu, did you really find the wood source in the magical beast forest? Or did you hide something from the Lord? Lu Xiyang's heart skipped a beat, but he pretended to be ignorant and guilty. "Sir Silver Fox, it's not that I was hiding something, but that I met an unexpected person in the magical beast forest and was seriously injured. I devoured a few people of the Doctors' Association to be able to escape from the danger. I didn't know what happened afterward." Silver Fox frowned as if trying to verify the truth from his words. "In Miluo continent, is there anyone else who can beat you to the brink of death, President Lu? Who is that person?" Thinking of that person and the terrifying feeling of his palm piercing through his body, Lu Xiyang felt chills down his spine. He also learned about that person's true identity from Lu Zhishi. Lu Shiyang took a deep breath and said slowly, "It's the king of hell, Nangong Yu." "It's him!" Silver Fox exclaimed, but he was just shocked without doubting. He frowned deeply under the mask and murmured, "Could it be that the Nangong family also wants to snatch the wood source? Otherwise, how could that kid suddenly appear in the magical beast forest? No, I have to go back and inform the Lord." He glanced at Lu Shiyang and said in a deep voice, "The fluctuation of wood source in the magical beast forest must be related to Beastkin or Miracle Healer Academy. I will send people to investigate the Beastkins. You keep an eye on the Miracle Healer Academy. If there is any news about the wood source, report it to the Lord. Are you clear?" "Yes, sir. I will do my best." It wasn't until he was sure that Silver Fox's aura was completely gone that Lu Shiyang let out a breath. He looked in the direction where Silver Fox disappeared with a mocking smile. "The wood source is destined to be mine. No one else can get it. The Nangong family." Thinking of what Silver Fox said just now, Lu Shiyang frowned again. Could it be that King of Hell Nangong Yu has any background? And Nangong Yu, who was mentioned by Lu Shiyang and Green Vince clan, also returned to the King of Hell mansion in Jinling Kingdom City a few days later. Except for Bai Hu and Qing Wan who were following Hexi, and Xian Wu who was cleaning up the Feng family, all the other subordinates knelt in front of him to pay respects. Nangong Yu waved to let them get up, then he went straight to the point, "I want to marry Xi Yu." The words were so abrupt that everyone was taken aback, unable to recover. But this did not include Foodie Wu Yu. Wu Yu immediately jumped up excitedly when he heard that Xi Yu, who was a superb cook, was about to become his own princess. He even forgot about his manner, "Long live the princess." "Master, you should have married her sooner." "That's great now. I won't have to worry about not having any good food in the future." Chapter 1487, Hexi and Xi Yue. Xin gave this shameful guy a disgusted look, then he bowed and said, "Congratulations, master." Wu Chen and Wu Go looked at each other. They both saw the embarrassment and surprise in each other's eyes. Isn't this Xi Yu, known to the world today, as a man? Why would master marry a man? Moreover, I remember that the master had proposed marriage to the third miss of Nayland Mansion only a few months ago. Although Nayland Mansion was wiped out later and the third miss was probably dead. But doesn't that mean that master should like woman? Why did he suddenly like man? But Wu Chen quickly restrained his mind, bowed and said, "Congratulations, master. Whether it's a man or a woman, as long as master likes it, no matter who the person is, he must marry back. It doesn't matter if it's a beastkin. What's more, who in the world doesn't know that Xi Yu's medical skills are superb? He even owns an industry like Xingda Hall that everyone is flocking to. Only such a young genius is worthy of our master." As for the succession of the family, immortal cultivators usually live a long life. Many people don't value their offspring that much at all. Wu Go frowned, intending to say something, but he finally lowered his head silently. Nangong Yu took a full view of their expressions, but he did not explain. He just said indifferently, "I summoned you today to tell you that Xi Yu will not only be my princess, but her order and status will also be equal to mine from now on. You will be loyal to me in the future, and you must also be loyal to Xi Yu. If I find out that anyone dares to disrespect Xi Yu, I will never show mercy. Do you understand?" Several people, including the butlers of the King of Hell Mansion, all bowed in response. After Wu Xin and others retreated, only Qing Long and Butler Nan remained beside Nangong Yu. Butler Nan couldn't help but asked, "Why didn't young master tell Wu Go and the others that Xi Yu is a woman and she is exactly the Nayland Hexi you proposed a few months ago?" Nangong Yu tapped his fingers on the table, frowned slightly, and said, "Don't ever mention again that Xi Yu is the third miss of the Nayland family. Xi Yu is Xi Yu, Nayland Hexi is Nayland Hexi. Nayland Hexi had already died, and Xi Yu is about to be my Nangong Yu's wife. Uncle Nan, do you understand?" Butler Nan was startled for a moment, then remembered the mysterious appearance and disappearance of the man in red clothes that destroyed the Nalan family in a snap of his fingers. His mind shook for a moment. He had understood the meaning of his master and quickly bowed. Subordinate understands. I will also tell Wu Xian and Wu Yu, who know about it, to not spread it. Nangong Yu nodded, but he did not loosen his frown. Regarding Hexi's origin and Enling Yue's portrait, Nangong Yu always had a bad feelings. He instinctively knew that no one should discover Hexi's true identity, otherwise it might bring disaster. Therefore, he could only marry Xi Yu, not the third miss of the Nalan family. As for whether Xi Yu was a man or a woman and whether people in the world would spread gossip about him, would he, Nangong Yu, care about such gossip? Nangong Yu knocked on the table twice, and suddenly said to Qing Long, go and get the Xingyin Lujing. Qing Long was startled, and opened his eyes slightly. Master, is the Nangong family who wants to contact the upper realm? Naturally. Nangong Yu slowly raised the corners of his mouth, but his smile was a little complicated, with nostalgia and disgust, helplessness and hatred. Now that I'm getting married, I should at least let them know anyway, right? Chapter 1488. Nangong family. Qing Long paused for a moment, then he silently took out the Nebula Du mirror from the King of Hell Mansion's underground palace. The Nebula Du mirror was a treasure that could connect two worlds. The energy contained in it was unimaginable, so ordinary storage devices couldn't store it. The Nebula Du mirror was almost half the height of a person. It was inlaid with exquisitely carved nebula patterns. The mirror was made of bronze. If one just looked at it this way, it was an ordinary and cheap bronze mirror with at most a little bigger size. Nangong Yu swiped his finger lightly, dripped a few drops of blood oozed into the Nebula Du mirror, and injected spiritual power. The original gloomy mirror surface suddenly lit up with a dazzling light. The bronze mirror, which was still slightly rusty, seemed to suddenly turn into a vortex that refracted colorful light, leading to a very far place. After about a quarter of an hour, the vortex on the mirror surface disappeared, and a clear image appeared. At this time, there was chaos on the other side. Figures could be seen running back and forth and shouting. It's young Master Yu. It's really young Master Yu's contact. Quick, hurry up and inform Master and the old lady. Nangong Yu watched this scene quietly without any change in expression. Looking at those familiar and unfamiliar house furnishings, Qing Long's eyes fluctuated for a while, then they slowly calmed down. You are. Is it really you? A crying voice came from the other end of the Nebula Du mirror. Nangong Yu's body trembled slightly, then a white-haired old woman appeared in the image. The old woman's cultivation was already at the gold core stage, but she looked to be in her 70s. Her face was covered with wrinkles. Seeing Nangong Yu, the old woman threw herself in front of the Nebula Du mirror and cried loudly, Yuer, it's really my Yuer. Yuer, why haven't you contacted Grandma for so long? Do you know how Grandma misses you much? The coldness in Nangong Yu's eyes was melting like the snow in spring. If there was anyone else in the Nangong family whom he cared about, it was only this grandmother. He said softly, Grandmother, grandson is unfilial. On the other side of Nebula Du mirror, a pair of slender hands supported the old woman. A crisp voice sounded like an oriole coming out of the valley, Old lady, don't be sad anymore. Didn't cousin Yu contact you now? If you still cry again, cousin Yu will be sad too. The old woman wiped away her tears, then she calmed down under the girl's persuasion and sat down in front of the Nebula Du mirror. After the old woman left the mirror, Nangong Yu quickly saw the scene in front. There were quite a few people sitting in front of Nebula Du mirror this time. Several of his uncles, except the most useless third uncle Nangong Xian, all came. Even the current family master of the Nangong family, his second uncle Nangong Hua, was sitting right in front of Nebula Du mirror and looked at him with sharp eyes. The one supporting the old lady was a beautiful young girl who looked only 17 years old, but her cultivation had already reached the nascent soul stage. Even in Siam continent, she was a very rare talent. Nangong Yu had never seen this girl before, and he didn't care about her. On the contrary, the girl, who saw Nangong Yu's handsome face and sensed that unfathomable cultivation, couldn't help but lower her face with a blush. As soon as Nangong Hua sat down, he said in a dignified manner, "Yue, I heard that you have already broken through to the soul-splitting stage. Now that you can challenge the tribulation, shouldn't it be time to return to Siam continent? You're also a member of the Nangong family, shouldn't you come back early and contribute to the Nangong family?" Chapter 1489, Fiancée. Nangong Yu didn't even look at him, completely treating him as heir. He just looked at the old woman with a dignified expression and said with a hint of shyness, "Grandmother, I contacted you today to tell you that I'm getting married." Old lady Nangong was taken aback for a moment, then she was surprised. "Married? You're going to get married? Who are you going to marry?" The girl who was supporting old lady Nangong immediately tightened her hand. Her expression looked uncertain. Nangong Yu thought of Hexi's beautiful face, her clear and purple phoenix eyes, and a gentle and sweet smile appeared on his mouth unconsciously. "Grandmother, her name is Xi Yue. He is the first person I like, and she is the only one I want to marry in my life." However, before Nangong Yu finished speaking, he was interrupted by Nangong Hua with a livid face. "What Xi Yue? Where did the dubious woman come from? I absolutely disagree. As a member of the Nangong family, how can you marry a person from the lower realm? This will put shame on our Nangong family." Nangong Yu's face suddenly turned gloomy. There was a fierce storm in his dark eyes. "Second uncle, did I ask your opinion? Since when can they decide my, Nangong Yu's marriage? If it isn't for the sake of the same surname Nangong, I won't even give a notice." When Nangong Hua was stared at by such a pair of eyes, he felt a chill all over his body. Obviously, the young man is only 20 years old. Obviously, he is my nephew. Even if he is also at the soul-splitting stage, I have advanced to the soul-splitting stage for hundreds of years. How can he be intimidated by such a kid? Nangong Hua couldn't help but think of her elder brother, Nangong Ouyang. He was also a terrifying man. Since childhood, I was suppressed by him to the extent that I couldn't lift my head. I was jealous and hated him, but when I heard that he was expelled from Nangong family and stayed in the lower realm forever, I was exhilarated for a long time. Now that I'm in charge of the Nangong family as the family master. Logically speaking, even if Nangong Ouyang is in front of me, I shouldn't be afraid. However, facing Nangong Yu, I'm really timid. I even have an inexplicable illusion that Nangong Yu is much scarier than Nangong Ouyang. Nangong Hua suddenly came back to his senses. When he saw the young and handsome face in Nebula du mirror, he suddenly became angry. "What do you mean by that? You're a descendant of our Nangong family, and you're destined to return to Siam continent in the future. How can you marry a lowly woman in a place like Miluo continent?" As Nangong Hua said, he glanced at the girl who was supporting the old woman and said in a deep voice, "Besides, don't you know that you already have a fiancé? Are you being fair to Jing Shui?" The girl supporting the old woman's face turned pale when she heard the words. She looked like she was about to cry. Nangong Yu didn't even bother to take a look. He said with a sneer, "Why didn't I know that I still have a fiancé? What's more, since when can second uncle decide my marriage?" Hearing his rude words, Nangong Hua's face became even more ugly. He gritted his teeth and said, "Jing Shue is your cousin, and she is also the most outstanding disciple of Siam continent's Yun family. Your father had already arranged this marriage for you before he was dead. He just couldn't tell you himself." There was a gloomy look in Nangong Yu's eyes. "My mother, Yun Churan, was exiled by the Yun family to the lower realm. If she hadn't met my father later and fell in love with each other, my mother would have died in the Miluo continent." Chapter 1490, Ashamed into anger. Father hated the Yun family and those from the Lu family the most. He hated them so much that he didn't hesitate to perish together with them. Now these people actually have the face to tell me that my father has arranged a marriage for him with a girl from the Yun family? What an absurd joke. However, Nangong Hua was still condemning. Over the years, there have been countless high-rank martial artists who wanted to marry Jingxue, but she has been devoted to you. You can't let her down. Yun Jingxue lowered her head shyly. Qing Long, who was standing behind Nangong Yu, was already full of anger when he heard this. He had always hoped that his master would return to Siam. After all, his master's parents were originally from Siam, so he always had respect for the Nangong family on the Siam continent. However, when he came into contact with them today, he didn't expect these people to be so greedy and shameless. Qing Long was about to say something when the door of the room was pushed open suddenly. Butler Nan walked in angrily, pointed at the Nebula Du mirror and scolded, "Second master, how can you talk nonsense like this? When our master and madam were alive, they said that no marriage should be arranged for young master when he is an adult. They wouldn't even let him marry the woman of the Yun family and Lu family. How could young master have a fiancée?" After Nangong Hua's lie was exposed on the spot, his face turned green and red immediately. He looked at Butler Nan fiercely, and he even used coercion. "You old fool, do you have the right to speak here? Do you believe the value of Nebula Du mirror was that some fundamental essence and spiritual attacks could penetrate time and space?" Butler Nan was no more than a gold core stage. Now that he was being oppressed by the spiritual pressure of a soul-splitting stage master, his face couldn't help turning pale. Nangong Yu stood in front of Butler Nan and squinted slightly, then Nangong Hua suddenly widened his eyes with fear. A bead of sweat slowly slid down from his forehead. Nangong Yu sneered and said, "Second uncle, are you ashamed into anger that your lies have been exposed?" Before Nangong Hua could speak again, Nangong Yu said coldly, "I'll say it again. Don't say that my parents will never make such a marriage contract for me. Even if there is a marriage contract, it has nothing to do with me. The only one I want to marry is Xi Yu. If anyone dares to stop me, I will make him pay a terrible price. Even you, my dear uncles, will be the same." For a moment, the Nebula Du mirror was completely silent. Everyone in the Nangong family had livid faces and eyes full of anger, but the strength Nangong Yu just showed made them realize how terrifying this man was. They didn't dare to act rashly. Old Lady Nangong coughed lightly, breaking the silence. Don't be angry. Your second uncle also wanted to remind you because he is worried that you would be cheated." Seeing Nangong Yu's gloomy face, the old lady immediately said with a gentle and kind expression, "However, if Yue really thinks she is a good girl, then I will definitely support you. After all, the most important is that you truly like her." As soon as the old lady said this, Yun Jingxue's face turned pale in an instant. She couldn't help but whisper with sobs, "Old lady." Hearing this, the old lady patted her little hand lightly and gave her deep eyes, but she didn't say much. Nangong Yu's originally gloomy face eased a lot, and he smiled slightly. "Grandmother, Xi Yue is the person I chose. I believe that you will also like her." Chapter 1491, Good Way. As for the others, even if they had the same surname as Nangong, they had nothing to do with him. The image on the Nebula Du mirror disappeared, and Qing Long moved the treasure back. Butler Nan looked at his master's indifferent face, but he felt pain in his heart. Although master didn't show any emotion, I knew that the master is once again more disappointed with that family. When old master and madam were killed, young master was still a naive child. Before, he would laugh and make trouble, but in the blink of an eye, he is as cold as ice. He no longer shows other expressions on his face. While young master was hiding his strength and pretended to get along well with the Feng family, he also wants to investigate the truth about the deaths of master and madam. For so many years, before meeting Miss Xi Yu, young master had never really smiled happily. Now that young master is finally able to marry Miss Xi Yu, the Nangong family actually wants to meddle in his marriage. They even got him a fiancée with ill intentions. It's like they don't want young master to have a good life at all. Nangong Yu squinted suddenly, tapped his fingers on the table, and suddenly said in a deep voice to Qing Long who just came in, "I have a task for you." Qing Long bowed and listened to his orders. After Nangong Yu finished his words, Qing Long opened his mouth slightly, showing a shocked expression. Butler Nan immediately smiled delightfully. He immediately said, "Young master, this is a good way. Just let everyone know that you are going to marry Miss Xi Yue. When the time comes, the marriage has been done. Let's see what kind of trouble can the people of the Nangong family with malicious intentions make." Qing Long gave Butler Nan a complicated look. He couldn't help complaining secretly in his mind, "You only know that this is a good way to deal with Nangong family, but you don't know that master hasn't even successfully proposed yet." When the news of the marriage is spread to everyone, the princess. Qing Long shuddered, but he bowed his head and went to execute the order. After returning from the magical beast forest, Hexi's days returned to a rare calm. The amount of books in Miracle Healer Academy's library really surprised her, especially the materials on medical skills and pill refining. They could make up for her lack of foundation and experimentation. Moreover, Hexi always felt that those academy elders were treating her inexplicably well now. They let her read the books for free, use the spirit stones for free, vacate the best pill refining room for her, and even assign the elite elders and branch deans to teach her every day. One day, just after the class, Dean Huang couldn't help but excitedly said, "Xi Yue, a genius like you should come to learn how to forge weapons. How can you be a pill refiner? It's really a waste of talent. If you learn about forging, you will definitely become the best forge master." Hexi had a headache while listening to Dean Huang's nagging. This was not the first time that Dean Huang asked her to change to forge weapons. It should be said that this was not the first elder who asked her to change to learn other skills. For some reason, after unlocking the first level of the wood source, Hexi found that she was learning quickly and easily now. But she has always known that skill lies in proficiency rather than the number of skills. For her, the most important and most interesting thing was always the art of healing and poisoning. Chapter 1492, Congratulations. As for other skills such as forging, array, and planting, she only seemed to know a little superficially. First, it would help her medical skills. Second, they would also have a life-saving effect at critical moments. As Dean Huang was talking excitedly, Li Qingxuan's angry voice suddenly came from the side, "What are you talking about? Xi Yue's talent in array is obviously better. Xi Yue, listen to me, if you want to give up medical skills and pill refining, come and learn array from me. I have never accepted any disciple. You are the first one. What is there to learn in such boring forging skill?" Dean Huang had always been the best-tempered, but when it came to forging, his temper immediately exploded. "Your temper is bad like a cow. Why are you accepting disciple? Xi Yue will be ruined if he follows you." Hexi looked at the two deans who were arguing like children, pressed her aching temples, and quietly backed away. As soon as she turned the corner, she breathed a sigh of relief. Then, Wei Chengyuan's laughter came into her ears. "It seems that being too popular is not a good thing." Hexi rolled her eyes at him angrily. "It seems that you have been very idle recently." Wei Chengyuan touched his nose with a smile and took out a jade box for her. Hexi raised her eyebrows. It's a New Year gift from Venerable Huiyu." Wei Chengyuan paused with a deep smile. Venerable Huiyu also specifically said that this gift is not considered as a reward for your life-saving grace, but as an elder's gift. Please accept it. Hexi opened the jade box and took a look. Inside was a delicate and beautiful purple jade hairpin. It had a luster. Complicated array runes could be faintly seen. Hexi's mouth twitched. What does Venerable Huiyu mean? Knowing that I'm now disguised as a man, he even gave me a girl's accessory. No matter how beautiful this purple jade hairpin is and how powerful the defensive array is, it is of no use to me. Wei Chengyuan couldn't help but poked his head to look at her, but Hexi had closed the jade box with a snap before Wei Chengyuan saw it. Wei Chengyuan wondered, what is it? So mysterious. Venerable specifically told me not to open it casually. Xi Yue, can't you let me see it? Hexi glared at him. As she was about to speak, Lu Zixi in a pink dress walked over gracefully not far away. Seeing this woman, Wei Chengyuan immediately frowned with a disgusted expression. After returning from the magical beast forest, Lu Zixi was inexplicably absolved of her crimes. She was able to stay in Miracle Healer Academy like nothing happened. Moreover, Lu Zixi, who came back, seemed to be a different person. In the past, no matter what her insides were like, her appearance was always dignified and beautiful like a noble fairy. People could only watch her from a distance. But now Lu Zixi exuded a seductive and enchanting aura with every gesture. She had seduced many young students in Miracle Healer Academy. At this moment, several elites from the 4 upper courtyards surrounded her. As long as Lu Zixi gave a wink, they would be overwhelmed with excitement as if they would die for her. Lu Zixi glanced at Hexi with a hint of deep jealousy in her eyes, but a soft smile evoked on her face instead. Student Xi Yu, congratulations. Congratulations? Hexi raised her eyebrows. Wei Chengyuan said directly in disgust, Lu Zixi, what are you planning again? Chapter 1493, Marriage News. Lu Zixi glanced at Wei Chengyuan and sneered with pity and sarcasm, Brother Wei, you stay by Xi Yu's side with all your heart, but you don't know that he doesn't like you at all. Although he is a man, he has high aspirations. Now he even hooks up with His Royal Highness King of Hell. Mr. Xi, am I right? Hexi frowned slightly, what do you mean by that? Lu Zixi smiled enchantingly, winked at the men around her, and said with a sneer, Xi Yu, are you pretending to be stupid in front of me now? Nangong Yu actually wants to marry you, a toy boy, at all costs. He even announced your marriage news to the entire Miluo continent. Are you happy now? Are you proud of getting His Highness King of Hell? However, you never think that if Nangong Yu married a man, what kind of laughing stock would he become? You disregard the ethics and ruin Nangong Yu's reputation. How dare you walk around in the Miracle Healer Academy like nothing happens? Even I'm ashamed of you. All the men around Lu Zixi blushed. Although they agreed with Lu Zixi's words, no one dared to say anything more. Xi Yu had established absolute prestige in Miracle Healer Academy. Even if they didn't completely surrender to her, few people dared to embarrass her face to face. Those who were severely slapped in the face in the past had taught them enough lessons. Hexi was also taken aback by the words. Her expression froze for a while. Marriage news spread throughout Miluo continent. What the hell is this? Siam continent Divine Moon Palace. Venerable Huiyu listened to his subordinate Wei Jianqing's report, and he said with a half-smile, I never thought that the Feng family, which the Dark Knight clan puts so much effort into supporting in the lower realm, would be wiped out so easily by that brat of the Nangong family. Yes. I already had a high evaluation of him, but it seems that he is much more powerful than I imagined. Should I say that he really deserves to be the son of Nangong Outyan? Venerable Huiyu said and shook his head with some emotion. If there was no Nangong Outyan back then, the Nangong family would have been a bottom-level existence in Siam continent. They were even lower than the Feng family that was the vassal of the Dark Knight clan. Now the Nangong family is falling again, but this Nangong Yu is rising unexpectedly. Even I can't see through him. He is really unfathomable. Yan Xiao, who looked rough and unsuspecting, smiled and said, who cares if this brat is unfathomable or not? Anyway, he doesn't fight against us. We only need to watch the Dark Knight clan make a fool of themselves. I wonder how long can they wipe their ass clean. Ha ha ha, Wei Jianqing coughed lowly, interrupted Yan Xiao's rude words, and continued, there is another news. Nangong Yu from Miluo continent released the news that he is about to marry Xi Yu of the Miracle Healer Academy as his wife. I heard that the Nangong family in Siam continent is furious over this. Especially because Nangong Hua originally wanted Nangong Yu to marry Yun Jingxue from the Yun family. Venerable Huiyu smacked his tongue and said dissatisfiedly, why is Nangong Yu so quick? I still want to introduce that little girl to my genre. Why did he announce the marriage before I could think of a way to break them? Wei Jianqing coughed again and again. Venerable, is it really okay for you to say so brazenly that you want to break up the couple? Chapter 1494, Marry a Man. Venerable Huiyu is still dissatisfied. Where is Zhener? I asked him to go down to Miluo to meet that little girl Shiyu. Did he do that? Where did he go? Wei Jianqing rubbed his nose and smiled. Venerable, Master Zhen said that he found a place to practice, and he has been away from the Divine Moon Palace for more than a month. Well, Master Zhen said that he is not interested in women, and he told you not to worry about it. Venerable Huiyu called out, bastard, angrily, then he was taken aback and said with some hesitation, wait, when Nangong Yu announced the marriage news, did he mention whether Shiyu is a man or a woman? Wei Jianqing was startled, then he murmured after a long while, no one will think that the wife Nangong Yu is going to marry is a man, right? No one in Siam continent knew who Shiyu was, so naturally they didn't doubt whether she was a man or a woman. As for Venerable Huiyu, they already knew Shiyu's identity as a woman. However, Wei Jianqing thought of Miracle Healer Academy. It seems, almost everyone in Miluo continent has acquiesced that Shiyu is a man. Thinking of the expression on the face of the Nangong family when they thought Nangong Yu was going to marry a man, Wei Jianqing couldn't help but burst out laughing. Then the Divine Moon Palace erupted into loud laughter, which confused the guards outside the palace. The magical beast forest in Miluo continent could be said to be the largest mountain range in the entire continent that spans several countries. In the northernmost corner, there was an inconspicuous small town named Huanan. Huanan City was unknown to many people in the entire Miluo continent. It was located in a remote place and did not belong to any country. The population was even more pitiful. The total number of people was less than 1,000, but few people know that this was the base of the Nangong family in the lower realm. They didn't have any big tasks. Their purpose was to get intel in the lower world and report it to the Nangong family in the Siam continent. The most important news they wanted to investigate was about Nangong Yu. The person in charge of guarding Huanan City was none other than Nangong Xian, who had the lowest cultivation level in the Nangong family and was considered the most useless. Nangong Xian was the younger brother of Nangong Hua with the same father and mother. Nangong Hua was handsome and tall while Nangong Xian was like a short winter melon. Not to mention he was ugly, he even had fat all over his body. If he wasn't at the nascent soul stage early stage, with those sneaky mung bean eyes, he looked no different from a profiteer full of fat. It was late afternoon at this time. The sun was shining outside. The palace was also bright. But in the city lord's sleeping hall, there were ecstasy crashing sounds, panting sounds, and moaning and crying that made people blush. Third Master, lightly, aw. It's too fast. Third Master, please spare me. On Nangong Xian's huge bed, a middle-aged man who was like a ball of meat pressed tightly against the body of a handsome young man. He kept banging the young man and making roars like a beast. With tears on the young man's face, he lay prone on the bed, moaning in pain and joy. After a long time, Nangong Xian let out a loud cry, finally satisfied, and fell on the young man with a look of contentment. The young man burst into a sweat on his bead. The stinky liquid and the smelly breath made the young man frown in anger, hatred and disgust, but he quickly suppressed it. Nangong Xian's weight was at least 200 catties. After being pressed by him for a long time, the young man could hardly breathe. Chapter 1495, Nangong Xian's Toyboy. He showed a pitiful expression and said in a weak voice, Third Master, you are so powerful. Binger almost couldn't stand it. Can you let Binger go now? Nangong Xian had already intended to end it, but when Nangong Xian saw his lustful look, his desire was soaring again. After about 300 rounds, there were hurried footsteps followed by a knocking on the door. Nangong Xian was infuriated for being interrupted. Get lost. This group of people is really getting more and more annoying. They dare to disrupt me when I was having fun. When I'm done, I will remove all these useless things. Unexpectedly, the person who knocked on the door not only did not retreat, but he said anxiously, "Third master, open the door quickly. It is a letter from second master, and it is very urgent." As soon as Nangong Xian heard that it was the letter from his second brother in the Siam continent, he didn't dare to neglect it. He was able to enjoy such lustful life and rich resources due to the indulgence of his second brother. Otherwise, with his nascent soul early stage cultivation, even in Miluo continent, there were many people who were stronger than him. How could he be so carefree? Nangong Xinqi crawled off the bed with his heavy body. The fat all over her body was shaking. After getting off the bed, Nangong Xian stretched out his hand to touch the young man's back and said with a lustful smile, "Little fairy, wait for me to come back. I will definitely satisfy you." After saying that, with a big belly, he slowly walked out of his bedroom. The servant who sent a letter to Nangong Xian couldn't help but look into the room. Smelling the stench that filled the room and looking at the naked young man, he couldn't help showing a contemptuous expression. It's fine that the third master of the Nangong family doesn't like women and likes young men, but he even indulged in sex every day. It's really embarrassing for the Nangong family. No wonder master threw him to the lower realm. After Nangong Xian and the servant left, the young man who was lying on the bed slowly got up. The pitiful, well-behaved and docile look on his face just now had long since disappeared without a trace. His cold eyes stared at the direction in which Nangong Xian disappeared with deep loathing. If there were people from Miracle Healer Academy here at this time, they could identify of this young man at a glance. Tong Bing, the boy who the entire Miracle Healer Academy thought had died in the magical beast forest, unexpectedly appeared in the City Lord Mansion in Huanan City. He even became Nangong Xian's Toyboy. In the conference hall, a middle-aged man in green clothes bowed to Nangong Xian casually and handed him an inscribed jade slip. Miluo and Siam continent couldn't communicate with each other with ordinary communication talismans. Treasures such as Nebula du Mirror, there weren't many of them even in the Siam continent. And this man in green clothes, named Zheng Luo, was Nangong Hua's confidant. His strength had reached the early stage of the soul-splitting stage, so he could break through the barrier between the continents and deliver the letter to the Miluo continent. Nangong Xian shook his fat body and sat down on the chair. He was very dissatisfied with Zheng Luo's inattention when facing him. "Isn't it just a dog of my second brother? What are you acting so arrogantly?" Nangong Xian read the inscribed jade slip with divine sense, then he frowned. The order in this inscribed jade slip was very simple. It actually asked him to investigate Nangong Yu's fiancée, but it even led him to ruin the marriage between Nangong Yu and his fiancée. Isn't this asking me to court death? Chapter 1496, Terrifying Nephew. Doesn't second brother know that what I fear the most is that cold nephew? It is even more frightening than when I see second brother. Nangong Xian couldn't help thinking about the past. At that time, Nangong Yu was only 16 years old and had just advanced to the gold core stage. Nangong Xian took a fancy to a manservant of Nangong Yu and wanted to rape him forcibly. In the end, Nangong Yu saw it. He launched his flying sword and chased Nangong Xian for the entire continent. The point was that Nangong Yu was only at the gold core stage, and Nangong Xi was already at the nascent soul stage, but he couldn't fight against Nangong Yu at all. He was slashed several times on his body. In the end, he knelt down and begged for mercy. He even brought out Nangong Xian's mother to barely force Nangong Yu to stop. After that, Nangong Xian never dared to provoke his terrifying elder nephew. Even the surveillance tasks ordered by Nangong Hua could only be carried out secretly. It had been a long time since what happened back then, but thinking about it now, Nangong Xian felt that the old wounds were aching. Thinking of this, Nangong Xian's attitude toward Zheng Luo was very bad. Second brother only gives this order. He only knows that Nangong Yu is going to marry a person called Xi Yue, and he has no other information. How do you want me to find this person? What's more, even if I found this person, will Nangong Yu listen to me? It is better not to be able to find anything so that I don't have to confront that lunatic Nangong Yu. Zheng Luo said indifferently, don't worry, third master. Second master had ordered me to stay in Miluo continent and assist third master at any time. That is to say, the investigation must be done and the marriage must be ruined. Although Zheng Luo said he would stay, Nangong Xian was not happy at all. Nangong Yu had already left a deep trauma in Nangong Xian's mind, which made him feel that even Zheng Luo, who was at the soul-splitting stage, might not be able to save him from Nangong Yu's sword. When Nangong Xian returned to his bedroom, his face was still sorrowful. He had no intention of indulging in sex. He just frowned with distress and displeasure. Third master, what's the matter? Did someone make you angry? The young man's soft and slightly hoarse voice came from beside his ear. Nangong Xian waved his hand irritably, but he did not speak. A dark light flashed in Tong Bing's eyes. His slender body squeezed into Nangong Xian's arms, he hugged Nangong Xian's thick and short neck, and he praised and comforted several times in a gentle and tender voice. Originally, Nangong Xian would not tell these things to his Toyboy, but this young man gave him harmless feeling, which made him relax his vigilance unconsciously. Listening to Nangong Xian's narration, Tong Bing's face became more and more surprised, then it was twisted by jealousy and anger. King of Hell Nangong Yu wants to marry Xi Yu. Isn't he a man like me? Is Nangong Yu's brain trampled by a magical beast and becomes an idiot? Besides, doesn't Xi Yu already have a lover? He not only seduces Xianmu, but he even seduces King of Hell Nangong Yu. Wait, in the confinement space of the magical beast forest, when Xi Yu's lover was swept away by the teleportation array. The skin on his face seemed to be cracked, as if a mask had been torn apart. Could it be that the high cultivation but unremarkable bodyguard and lover next to Xi Yu is the King of Hell Nangong Yu? Tong Bing gritted his teeth with hatred when he thought of the rumored Nangong Yu, who was unparalleled handsome and had unfathomable cultivation. Chapter 1497, Dogshit Plot. Why? Why? As men, I'm no worse than Xi Yu. I'm even more dedicated, kind and pure than Xi Yu, but Xianmu and Nangong Yu will only look at Xi Yu. And I can only be trampled by this fat pig? Tong Bing took a deep breath, slowly covered up the resentment on his face, and then frowned. He looked at Nangong Xian with a naive look. Third master, are you sure you are not mistaken? The person King of Hell Nangong Yu wants to marry is Xi Yu? He won't be the Xi Yu I'm thinking, right? Nangong Xian was taken aback. What? Binger, you know Xi Yu? Tell me quickly, which family she is from. I have been in Miluo continent for so many years, why haven't I heard of any family with the surname Xi? Tong Bing bit his lips hesitantly. Under Nangongsen's urging, Tong Bing said, if the Xi Yu that third master mentioned is the Xi Yu I know. Then Xi Yu is not a woman, but a man. Are you sure, third master? How could King of Hell marry a man? What? Nangong Xian jumped up from the bed. You said Xi Yu is a man. How is this possible? Tong Bing seemed to be scared by Nangong Xian. His eyes were slightly red, and he said with a sobbing and sad voice, Third master, Binger has always been very grateful to you for picking Binger back from the magical beast forest. Otherwise, Binger would have died tragically in that forest long ago. Does third master want to know who caused Binger to end up in a miserable state? What Nangong Xian cared most about now was whether Nangong Yu was going to marry a man or a woman, so he wanted to scold, I don't care who harmed you as long as I have enough fun with you. But when he saw Tong Bing looking at him with tears in his eyes, he still restrained himself and said, Who hurt you? It was that Xi Yu. As soon as Tong Bing said this, Nangong Xian was taken aback. What do you mean by that? Third master, I was originally a student of Miracle Healer Academy. Then, I discovered Xi Yu's misbehavior. He obviously had a lover, but he still flirted with the man in his dormitory, and even he had sex with him. I originally wanted to expose Xi Yu, but Xi Yu found out. When we were training, he set me up with a trap in the magical beast forest. If third master didn't help me, I would be dead for nothing. Nangong Xian's face was sluggish. The Dogshit plot completely exceeded his expectations. I thought Nangong you would marry a beautiful lady from a great family, but he is actually going to marry a man. What's more, the man is such a ruthless and promiscuous person. Tong Bing wiped his tears. His body trembled slightly as if he couldn't bear the pain of being framed. He said in a choked voice, "Now that I heard what third master's words, I finally know that Xi Yu's lover is king of hell Nangong Yu. No wonder he wanted to kill me, no wonder he was so afraid of being exposed about his scandals. If His Highness King of Hell knew about his scandal, His Highness King of Hell might not want him." Nangong Xian regained consciousness. Listening to Tong Bing's words, his mung bean eyes became brighter and brighter. I was still worrying about how to separate Nangong Yu and his fiancée. In the end, the fiancé is not a woman, but a man. Chapter 1498, Laugh Out Loud. Haha, our Nangong family is a respectable family. Of course it doesn't matter if we play with men, but who dares to marry a man? Isn't this making the Nangong family a joke in the entire immortal realm? In this way, not to mention that Nangong Hua will not agree to the marriage, even the old lady and everyone in the world will not let Nangong Yu do it. If I release the news that the man is flirtatious and promiscuous again, the marriage will be over without me ruining it. Nangong Xian really got more and more excited as he thought about it. He grabbed Tong Bing's hand and asked, "Is it true?" Tong Bing nodded again and again. "I used to live in the same dormitory as Xi Yu, and no one knows him better than me, so how can I make a mistake? Third master, Nangong Yu is your nephew. You have saved Binger's life. How can Binger let your cousin be deceived by such a person? Xi Yu, he, hooks up with any man. How can such a person be worthy of His Royal Highness King of Hell?" Okay. Nangong Xian became happier the more he listened. He said, "We will go to Miracle Healer Academy and meet this man whom my nephew chooses." TSK, Nangong you would be fascinated by a man? I heard that he is even 17 years old, which is my favorite type. If I can play for a while, I wonder how wonderful is it. Didn't Tong Bing say that he is promiscuous? I believe that as long as I show my identity as one of the Nangong family, he will obediently lie on me. As long as he thought of playing Nangong Yu's person, his blood was boiling. Tong Bing looked at the greed in Nangong Xian's eyes, and a sharp and crazy light flashed in his eyes. Back then, he wanted to devour Xi Yu's spiritual power and talent, but Xi Yu devoured his vitality instead. When he was left to die in the magical beast forest, everyone thought he was dead. A few days later, a beastkin that had just transformed passed by him, thinking that he was a student of Miracle Healer Academy. He had heard that Xi Yu from Miracle Healer Academy was the savior of the beastkin clan, so he kindly treated him. Tong Bing devoured his beastkin power and vitality without hesitation at the time of life and death. Although he took advantage of the beastkin's kindness again, Tong Bing felt that he was still kind and pure. After all, beastkins and humans were different. Only a vicious person like Xi Yu would be ruthless to him, but Xi Yu treated the beastkins better. However, Tong Bing was seriously injured. Even after devouring the little beastkin's vitality, he was still weak. He fled to the edge of the magical beast forest and passed out, but he was finally picked up by Nangong Xian. When Tong Bing woke up, he found that he was being raped by this fat scum, Nangong Xian. He was unwilling, resisted, and even called brother Xian Mu for help, but in the end, he still couldn't avoid a miserable fate. He hated Xi Yu even more for making him fall into such a fate. So after waking up again, Tong Bing changed his previously resistant attitude. Instead, he flattered Nangong Xian. He wanted to stay alive and become stronger. He must return to Miracle Healer Academy and take revenge on Xi Yu and those who bullied him and ruined him in Huang Medical Academy. But now, the opportunity he had been waiting for a long time finally arrived. As long as he thought that Xi Yu would be raped by the scum, Nangong Xian, Tong Bing trembled with excitement. He almost couldn't help wanting to laugh out loud. Chapter 1499, Act before informing Nangong Yu was going to marry a man as wife. This news swept through the entire Miluo continent like a hurricane. Who was Nangong Yu? That was the only 20-years-old nascent soul stage martial artist in Miluo continent. He was the god of war known to everyone in the world. Who was Xi Yu? If we were together years ago, some people might not know her. But now, Xingda Hall's branches had opened all over the world. The best quality pills sold in Xingda Hall and Qingxia sect had attracted many martial artists. Everyone knew that those best quality pills came from the young miracle healer Xi Yu. And now, King of Hell Nangong Yu actually wanted to marry Xi Yu as his wife. This was a jaw-dropping news. The students and elders of the Miracle Healer Academy even wanted to find out more about it. However, unlike other people who thought Nangong Yu was blind for wanting a man instead of a woman, the people in Huang Medical Branch felt even injustice for Hexi. Lu Zhishi, that black-hearted bitch, is now spreading rumors outside all day long, saying that Xi Yu seduces King of Hell Nangong Yu. She even says that Xi Yu is willing to be a lowly toy boy. Bah, is there anyone meaner than her in the entire Miluo continent? She is just being jealous. Qian Dazhuang and the others gathered together in Hexi's small dormitory. They cursed angrily. Zhang Yi clenched his fists and said angrily, "Why do people say that brother Xi Yu seduced that King of Hell?" It was clear that King of Hell wants Xi Yu himself. Yeah. With Xi Yu's talent and worth, does he need to seduce others? How many men and women are fond of Xi Yu in the Miracle Healer Academy? So what if he is King of Hell Nangong Yu? He is no better than our senior Xian Mu. This was said by Xi Yu's fan. But I think His Royal Highness King of Hell and brother Xi Yu are a perfect match. As long as they like each other, what does it matter if they are both men? This person believed in love. Hexi pressed her forehead. I'm already annoyed enough. Jin Ziyu looked at Xi Yu and ignored the cursing of the people around. He whispered, "Xi Yu, is this true? If it is King of Hell's unilateral intention, I can find a way for someone to clarify." Hexi frowned. Her mind was also overwhelmed. When she heard Jin Ziyu's words, she thought for a moment and said calmly, "If there is only one person who I can live with for the rest of my life, this person can only be Nangong Yu." Jin Ziyu's eyes flickered. He nodded immediately, "I understand what you mean." After returning from the magical beast forest, Jin Ziyu did not leave Huang Medical Branch. He began to take charge of the Academy's student council again. And Lu Zhishi was dismissed directly by Deputy Dean Jiang. Therefore, he had great authority to control the Academy's public opinion. After Jin Ziyu and others left, Hexi took out the inscribed jade slip that Nangong Yu asked Boundless Black Market to send over. She showed an angry and funny helpless expression. There was only one sentence in the inscribed jade slip. It wasn't words, but Nangong Yu's deep and magnetic voice as if it was blended with deep affection. "I only want to be with one person in this life, hold hands until we get old, be husband and wife, love without doubt. Xi Yu, I want everyone in the world to know that that person is you." This bastard, Hexi carefully put away the inscribed jade slip and murmured in a low voice, "It's clear that he acted before informing me. He doesn't want to give me the opportunity to reject." Chapter 1500, The Return of Ouyang. Haoxuan Qing Wan, who was standing by the side, saw that everyone had left, then she said in a low voice, "Miss, why did Master say that he wants to marry Xi Yu? Everyone in the world knows that Xi Yu is a man. If Master says that he wants to marry Nalan, wouldn't it save a lot of trouble? Nalan Hexi is dead." Hexi shook her head. On this point, her thoughts were exactly the same as Nangong Yu's. "From now on, Xi Yu is my name. Nalan Hexi and Nalan family have never been related to me. You must remember this." Qing Wan was startled. She immediately remembered the previous incident. The man in red clothes raised the Nalan mansion in the blink of an eye. Qing Wan still remembered that she asked Bai Hu afterward how powerful the man in red clothes was. Bai Hu said that even with the power of Master, he couldn't wipe out the entire Nalan mansion without leaving a single brick. Why did such a powerful man in red clothes go to Nalan mansion? He was probably looking for Mississippi. We don't know if he is an enemy or a friend. If it is someone who has ill intention against Miss, then there will be big troubles. Qing Wan immediately nodded with a serious expression. Miss, I understand. Hexi was about to ask her about the specific news that Nangong Yu had spread in Miluo continent, then she suddenly felt something in divine sense and raised her eyebrows. This is the master-servant blood pact of me and Ouyang Haoxuan. Ouyang Haoxuan has come to Miracle Healer City. Hexi thought for a moment, took Qing Wan with him, quickly left Miracle Healer Academy, and came to Xingda Hall in Miracle Healer City. As soon as she entered Xingda Hall, she heard Bai Hu's nervous voice, My God, how did you end up like this? Who did this to you? Hexi's heart tightened. As soon as she entered the door, he met Ouyang Haoxuan's calm and smiling eyes. It was just that his current appearance had nothing to do with being calm. His white robe was stained with blood, crumpled, and had several holes. His face was even more frighteningly pale. Hexi could feel his disordered and weak aura without checking his pulse or spiritual power. The most shocking thing was that one of his arms was empty, and a large amount of bloodstain on the severed sleeve. It was obviously cut off by someone. Hexi's face turned grim in an instant. She took a step forward and stuffed a medicinal pill into Ouyang Haoxuan's mouth. Her voice was cold and frightening. Who did this to you? Hexi had always been extremely protective to her people. She wouldn't allow anyone to hurt them. It applied to Shaoli, Shi Jia, Ouyang Haoxuan, Gu Lu Feng, etc. When the medicinal pill took effect in Ouyang Haoxuan's body, his pale face immediately looked better. His disordered aura also recovered slowly. Ouyang Haoxuan smiled slightly and said, I chased Feng Lianying and Nie Jinchen all the way to the extreme northern ice land. The journey was too far. In order to replenish spiritual power, I have almost used up all my medicinal pills. Hexi frowned. Feng Lianying hurt you? Impossible, Feng family people don't have such abilities. She could tell at a glance that Ouyang Haoxuan's current cultivation had broken through the nascent soul stage. Hexi was not surprised at all. After merging fire element spirit pearl, Ouyang Haoxuan's fire attribute improved at an unimaginable speed. He had already reached the edge of advancement. Coupled with several months of training in the Thousands Years Flame Cave, it was normal for him to advance to the nascent soul stage. Chapter 1501, Back to Academy. Ouyang Haoxuan shook his head with a faint chill in his dark eyes. Feng Lianying and Nie Jinchen are both dead. It wasn't them or the Feng family who hurt me, but Feng Lianying's master. Feng Lianying's master. Hexi suddenly remembered the voodoo goo that she was affected by in the Breaking Spirit Mountain that day. Her pupils shrank suddenly as she said slowly, Thousand Poison Valley Master. Nangong Xi walked swaggeringly in the Miracle Healer Academy. He held the slender boy in his arms with one hand while touching the boy's slippery cheek with the other fat hand from time to time. A pair of mung bean eyes kept turning around, with an indescribably excited and wretched expression. This Miracle Healer Academy is indeed a place where young geniuses gather. Walking in the academy and looking around, all I see are handsome young men who give me an unbearable itch. If I wasn't on a mission and there are some powerful forces behind Miracle Healer Academy, I would have raped those young men like a hungry tiger. The young man nestled in Nangong Xian's arms was wearing a snow-white mask with a pattern of vines on it, revealing only a small delicate mouth. He didn't look weird, but looked rather tender and charming. However, when the Miracle Healer Academy students saw the fat Nangong Xian hugging the young man, they couldn't help but spit and show a disgusted expression. The boy who was held in Nangong Xian's arms was naturally Tong Bing. He originally thought that it would not be easy to mix into the Miracle Healer Academy with Nangong Xian. After all, Miracle Healer Academy had a defensive barrier that rejected outsiders. Nangong Xian smiled with disdain when he heard his worries, just an academy in the lower realm. It's an honor for people of our Nangong family to visit it. How dare a shitty academy not allow me, Nangong Xian, to visit? They aren't afraid of me wiping out their existence. Sure enough, as soon as Nangong Xian showed his identity, no matter how much dissatisfaction Jin Liqing and Deputy Dean Jiang had, they still had to agree to his request and arrange him to the newly renovated Mojing Pavilion. Deputy Dean Jiang endured the anger in his heart, and he repeatedly asked Nangong Xian to stay in the Mojing Pavilion and not to walk around the Miracle Healer Academy at will, so as not to frighten the students. But Nangong Xian ignored Deputy Dean Jiang's words and appeared in the academy swaggeringly. He even hugged the toy boy, Tong Bing. Tong Bing felt the disgusted eyes of the people around him, and resentment surged in his heart. But thinking that Xi Yu would receive the same treatment in the near future and even be rejected by everyone, Tong Bing forgot about the current discomfort. Third Master, this is Huang Medical Branch. Xi Yu is one of Huang Medical Branch's students. Nangong Xian squinted his eyes. The fat on his face moved. Huang Medical Branch was located in a relatively remote place of Miracle Healer Academy. The spirit was not strong, and the appearance of the young men was worse. He was looking around while frowning. Suddenly, he saw someone that petrified him. In the dormitory area of Huang Medical Branch not far away, a young man wearing a blue and white Miracle Healer Academy uniform was slowly walking toward them. Even though it was the most common college costume, it felt as bright as the moon and as beautiful as jade when worn on the young man's body. The young man's facial features were so exquisite as if they were sculpted by a skillful master. Even the best painter couldn't depict 30% of his charm. Chapter 1502, Peerless Young Man. The young man's skin was as white as snow. Under the sun, it seemed to project a luster, which made people want to touch it with their own hands, but they were afraid that it will melt if they touched. The young man's expression was as cold as ice, but it made people feel even more aloof and pure like snow on the high mountain. It was completely different from the gaudy and vulgar of other ordinary people. Nangong Xian's eyes were dull. While staring straight at the boy who was getting closer and closer, his mouth was drooling. How can there be such a handsome young man in this world? How can there be a young man who is more crystal clear than the legendary fairy? If this young man was mine, if I could trample him under my body. Nangong Xian drooled even more, and his eyes almost burst into flames. If I had to give up other toy boys for him, I would be willing. Seeing the young man getting closer and closer, Nangong Xian thought he was looking for him. The fat on his face suddenly piled up, revealing an obsessed and fawning expression. But the next moment, the young man completely ignored them and walked past them. Wait a minute. Nangong Xian snapped back to his senses, threw Tong Bing away from his arms, and rushed toward the young man. However, before his hand touched the young man, his vision blurred, and he missed the hand. Nangong Xian's obese body staggered a bit, and he looked up with a surprised gaze. The young man had appeared not far away, looking at him with unkind eyes. Seeing the young man's unparalleled handsome face, Nangong Xian drooled again. His mung bean eyes narrowed. They were full of desire and greed. He sneered while sucking his saliva, "Little beauty, as long as you go back with me and become my people, I, Third Master, will promise you a prosperous future. Even if you want to go to heaven, I will also bring you there." Who is this fat pig? He's actually drooling at Xi Yu. Qian Dazhuang, who was walking beside Hexi, was almost disgusted by Nangong Xian's expression and eyes. "Hey, fat pig, are you tired of living? Who do you think you are? Is Miracle Healer Academy the place you can act shamelessly?" Jin Ziyu frowned, quickly found someone to block Hexi, and said coldly, "Who are you? Why have I never seen you before? Don't you know that not anyone can break into Miracle Healer Academy?" Nangong Xian couldn't see the beautiful young man, so he woke up immediately, only to notice that a group of people following the beautiful young man were pointing and cursing at him. They even blocked the beautiful young man, which immediately made him furious. What are you guys? Dare to stand in my way? Do you believe I could kill you all right now? Get lost. I'm talking to the little beauty. Who are you to intervene? Nangong Xian was about to step forward, then Tong Bing at the side suddenly stepped forward, grabbed him, and whispered in his ear, "Third Master, that person is Xi Yu." Xi Yu? Which Xi Yu? Nangong Xian was taken aback for a moment, then his eyes widened suddenly. Xi Yu, the man Nangong Yu is going to marry? The peerless and beautiful young man I want to own is actually Xi Yu? Nangong Xian was so shocked that his jaw almost dropped. Now I can understand it. It turns out that Xi Yu has such an extraordinary demeanor and appearance. No wonder his icy nephew is so moved that he doesn't even want women. However, it will be troublesome if this beautiful young man is Xi Yu. I understand my nephew very well. If I touch his people, won't I be beaten into meat paste by him? Chapter 1503, Daydream. If this beautiful young man is someone from other lower realms, I can just rape him without scrupulous. But if he is Nangong's future wife? Tong Bing saw Nangong Xian's hesitation, and a gloomy light flashed in his eyes. He whispered in Nangong Xian's ear, "Third Master, this lustful Xi Yu has already hooked up with many people. If so, His Royal Highness King of Hell knew about this, would he still be willing to marry such a man back? What's more, Third Master, you are from the upper realm. Your status is no worse than King of Hell. In the eyes of Binger, Third Master, you are a very strong person and someone who is worthy of relying on. I believe Xi will also look at Third Master differently." Hearing this, Nangong Xian squinted his mung bean eyes again, and most of the hesitation in his mind disappeared immediately. Tong Bing is right. Nangong Yu wants to marry Xi Yu, because he didn't know that Xi Yu hooks up with other men. If he knows, would Nangong Yu still want such a young man? At that time, wouldn't Xi Yu still be mine? Thinking of this, Nangong Xian immediately smiled and walked toward the beautiful young man. Qian Dazhuang blocked Nangong Xian and said with angry eyes, "I warn you. This is not a place where you fat pig can act wild." Before he could finish speaking, Nangong Xian's fat palm swung toward him with great vigor. He muttered, "Trash from the lower realm dares to block my way. Are you courting death?" Qian Dazhuang was caught off guard. He only felt a strong force hit him, and he was thrown to the ground all at once. Looking at this scene, Hexi squinted with a hint of murderous intent in her eyes. Nangong Xian got closer to Hexi. Seeing her exquisite eyes and her snow-white and delicate skin, he felt more thrilled and captivated than when he saw from a distance. He couldn't help drooling and stretched out his hand toward the pretty face that made him fascinated. "Little beauty, let Third Master love you well." Seeing that the indecent pig hand was about to touch the cheek as smooth as white jade, a red and blue light flashed. Nangong Xian only felt a sharp pain in the fingers, then he saw 3 of his chubby fingers were cut off by half. Blood splattered all of a sudden, and the white fingers fell to the ground, seeming to bounce twice. Nangong Xian's whole body was stiff. Until the piercing pain at his fingertips spread through his entire body, he let out a miserable howl like killing a pig. Not far away, Hexi looked at the howling Nangong Xian with a sneer. Her face was white as snow and her demeanor was elegant. The Li Shui sword in her hand floated in the air. The light of the sword was cold. It was not stained with a trace of dust or blood. Nangong Xian howled for a while, withstood the pain, and took out the wound medicine from the storage ring and sprinkled it on. Although the severed finger could not be regenerated, the pain and blood were stopped immediately. Nangong Xian stared at Hexi with mung bean eyes and said with resentment, "Bitch, don't be shameless. You are just a scumbag who can hook up with anyone. You really think you are noble? Do you know who I'm? I'm Nangong Yu's third uncle, Nangong Xi. You dare to hit me? Do you believe I'll go back and let Nangong Yu take care of you right away? How dare you? Xi squinted with a cold and mocking expression. Oh. Nangong Xi, you are from the Nangong family? Nangong Xi sneered, are you afraid now? Don't forget that you are a man and a low-level martial artist from the lower realm. It's just a Daydream trying to marry into my Nangong family. Chapter 1504. Beat him up. If I say a few more bad things about you to my second brother, the current family master of the Nangong family, saying that you seduced Nangong Yu, how long do you think you can live? As Nangong Xi said, he slowly approached Xi. Seeing her unparalleled beauty, his heart was agitated. He couldn't help showing a lewd and evil smile, and he said in a low voice, however, if you please me well, maybe I will say a few good words to my second brother when I'm in a good mood. Even if you can't marry into the Nangong family openly, you can at least be my toy boy. Xi showed a leisure smile. This smile instantly diluted the original glamour on her face. The already beautiful face became more dazzling than the sun. Looking at this smile, Nangong Xi was in a trance. He only had one thought, no wonder some people say that a smile can captivate a city, a smile can captivate a country. It turns out that there is really such a beauty in this world. However, before Nangong Xi stretched out his hand, the smile on Xi's face had already turned into a cold chill. Her slender figure soared into the air, and she kicked Nangong Xi hard in the chest. At the critical moment, Nangong Xi only remembered to protect himself with spiritual power. However, his fat body was still kicked far away. His internal organ and blood in the body were tumbling. Nangong Xi felt dizzy for a while, and he couldn't move for a long time. Xi sneered, it turns out that the people of the Nangong family are nothing more than that. Ziyu, since he asks for it himself, we don't have to be polite. A smile appeared in Jin Ziyu's eyes, and he waved to the people behind him, beat him up. Nangong Xi just wanted to get up and use spiritual power to let himself recover from the dizziness, but he was suddenly surrounded by a group of people. A storm of punches and kicks followed. Nangong Xi screamed in pain and rolled around. He wanted to release the spirit pressure of his nascent soul stage several times and wanted to cast his magic weapons. However, whenever his spiritual power was running in Dantian, there would be a more powerful and pure spirit pressure forcing back his spiritual power, dissipating the spiritual power that he condensed. Xi sneered and looked at Nangong Xi with a swollen face. Seeing that he wanted to resist, she directly launched a spiritual power at him. Yu, how can you let someone humiliate third master like this? Don't you have any sense of shame? A slightly hoarse voice came from the side. Xi turned around and saw a young man wearing a mask. Xi squinted her eyes. Although the young man's voice was unfamiliar, this figure gave her a familiar feeling. Before she could speak, Zhang Yi on the side had already snorted and said, "What are you? Even you're not ashamed of being a toy boy, why should brother Yu be ashamed?" Tong Bing glanced at Xi with resentful eyes. When I was in the magical beast forest, Yu's cultivation was clearly at the foundation establishment stage. Even if he advances, he would be at the meridian stage at best. But now, not only has she advanced to the gold core stage, but she can also completely suppress Nangong Xi at the nascent soul stage. Why? Why can Yu not only seduce men, but he can also improve his cultivation so quickly? Why does God favor this man so much? Tong Bing hated Yu to the extreme, but he quickly covered up his emotions and looked angry. Yu, I have already heard from Third Master about you and Nangong Yu. Chapter 1505, His Pleasure. People in the Nangong family don't want to recognize you at all. Haven't you thought that if Nangong Yu marries a man like you, he will be laughed at by the world and even expelled from the family? Tong Bing said angrily. Xi raised her eyebrows and said with a sneer, the one who married me is Nangong Yu, not the Nangong family. What does it have to do with people from the Nangong family? What does it have to do with you, Nangong Xian's Toyboy? You. Tong Bing's face under the mask twisted for a while. He said hatefully, Xi Yu, do you think that if you marry into the King of Hell Mansion, you will really be able to ascend to the upper realm? You are simply dreaming. As long as the Nangong family doesn't accept you, you are nothing. What's the difference between you and a toy boy like me? Hexi picked out her ears, squinted at him contemptuously, and sneered, Excuse me, who said I'm going to marry into King of Hell Mansion? Maybe Nangong you will marry into my Shingda Hall. As soon as Hexi said this, everyone present burst into commotion instantly. Qian Dazhuang and the others laughed out loud, Ha ha ha, that's right, who is our Xi Yu? He is a genius that Miracle Healer Academy has never seen since its establishment. Those who want to marry our Xi Yu can line up from the city gate of Miracle Healer City to the other end. It is King of Hell Nangong Yu's honor to marry Xi Yu. Jin Ziyu also had a smile on his face. He waved his hand to make them stop beating Nangong Xian and smiled faintly, with the talent and appearance of King of Hell Nangong Yu, he is worthy of our Xi Yu. Xi Yu's diehard fans at Huang Medical Branch took it for granted. However, the people from other branches went crazy after hearing that. My God! Let Nangong Yu marry into Shingda Hall, marry to Xi Yu? What does this mean? Could it be that Nangong Yu is going to wear a phoenix coronet and official robes and sitting in a bride's sedan when marrying into Shingda Hall? Everyone's faces were distorted. This picture was so beautiful that people couldn't imagine it. Qing Wan, who was following behind Hexi, even twitched her mouth. Qing Wan had the same worry as Qing Long when she received news that her master was going to spread the news of his marriage with Miss to the entire Miluo continent. No one knows better than us that Master has not yet successfully proposed to Mississippi. Master is so bold. If Miss gets angry, the consequences will be very serious. But I never expected that it will be such a consequence. Among the people in the surrounding, some had distorted faces, some were refraining themselves from laughing, and some were fantasizing. Qing Wan felt that her master's fame had been ruined in Miracle Healer Academy. When Nangong Xian got up from the ground, his already fat head was swollen like a pig's head. His clothes were messed up, his hair was messy, and his nose was bleeding. He looked even worse than a beggar. Xi Yu, great, just you wait. Since you want to take it the hard way, don't blame me for being rude. I'm going to inform my second brother and my mother right now what kind of slutty man Nangong Yu is going to marry. Let me tell you, what Nangong Yu listens to most is my mother's words. As long as my mother doesn't accept you, just wait to be rejected by Nangong Yu. You damn bastard. As soon as he finished cursing, Nangong Xian saw Hexi slowly raise the Li Shui sword. He screamed and ran away in a panic. He didn't care about cursing anymore, and he didn't even bring Tong Bing with him. Chapter 1506, Changes in Cai Yu. Tong Bing was stunned for a moment. The sinister and resentful thoughts turned one by one in his mind, then he quickly followed Nangong Xian. Watching Tong Bing leave, Hexi slowly squinted her eyes. This back view is really indescribably familiar. Outside Spirit Extinct Valley. Zhang Chong anxiously walked around outside the barrier, checking the barrier from time to time for any movement. Dean Huang said impatiently, Zhang Chong, can you stop turning around? I'm already dizzy because of you before Cai Yu comes out. Zhang Chong scratched his head in embarrassment, trying to calm himself down. At this time, he and Dean Huang were waiting outside the Spirit Extinct Valley, waiting for Cai Yu to come out. For Zhang Chong, Cai Yu was his benefactor, the closest person in Miracle Healer Academy except his younger brother. Just like his older brother. He didn't feel regret when he exposed Cai Yu's framing of Xi Yu, but he was always full of guilt for Cai Yu who was thrown into Spirit Extinct Valley. Now, Lu Zhixi's true face was revealed, Cai Yu could finally be released. How could he not be excited? While waiting anxiously, suddenly, the barrier in front of him fluctuated. A figure slowly walked out of the barrier. Zhang Chong raised his head suddenly. His face was full of surprise and nervousness. However, when he saw the person coming, his expression suddenly froze, then his eyes slowly turned red. His expression was full of guilt and distress. The person who came out was naturally Cai Yu. Spirit Extinct Valley had a special enchantment. Except for those with Dean's permission, no one was allowed to go through the barrier for his entire lifetime. However, when Zhang Chong saw the person at first glance, he almost didn't recognize that it was Cai Yu. Because Cai Yu has changed too much. The original gentle temperament like a nobleman disappeared without a trace, replaced by indifference and gloom emanating from the inside out. His clothes were already in tatters, and his upper body was only wrapped in a shabby white singlet. His chest was bare, revealing a lot of horrific scars. There was no spiritual power in the Spirit Extinct Valley, so the wounds couldn't heal completely. Many scars would naturally be left over time. Brother Kai. Zhang Chonghong rushed over with red eyes and was about to hug Cai Yu. However, as soon as he touched Cai Yu's body, he was startled. He stared blankly at Cai Yu's arms. Although his two hands were still there, they seemed to be dry and shriveled. Looking closer, he could only feel two dead branches wrapped in the empty sleeves. Brother Kai, your hands. Cai Yu's expression was indifferent as if it wasn't his hands that turned into dry branches. Oh, there are several demon slaughtering lands in Spirit Extinct Valley. I accidentally fell into one of them, then my hands withered. The voice that came out was hoarse and indifferent as if what he was talking about was not his life or death, but a trivial matter. Zhang Chang's tears welled up all at once. He wanted to ask who was so cruel to actually push Cai Yu in, but thinking of the darkness and horror in Spirit Extinct Valley, he couldn't ask this question again. The people inside were all lunatics. They would even eat human flesh in order to survive. Dean Huang looked at Cai Yu's skinny hand and felt uncomfortable. He knew about the demon slaughtering land. The evil aura would devour human flesh and spiritual power. Cai Yu was lucky to just lose two hands after falling into the demon slaughtering land. However, the hands that had been devoured were equivalent to useless. Not to mention refining tools, even the usual cultivation was a problem. Chapter 1507, feeling pity thinking that Cai Yu who was talent in forging no longer had the hope, Dean Huang felt depressed for a while. If I had known earlier, I should have been more determined and not let Cai Yu take the blame for Lu Zixi and be sent to Spirit Extinct Valley. Dean Huang took a step forward, patted Cai Yu's shoulder, and said in a hoarse voice, "It's good that you are out. I will find a way to solve your problem. If you don't object, you can come to my Hong medical branch. Even if you can't forge, you can also study runes with me. Besides, maybe there is a way to heal your hands." Right. Zhang Chong seemed to have thought of something, jumped up, grabbed Cai Yu, and said excitedly, "Let's go find Xi Yu. He has such superb medical skills. He must be able to cure you. Isn't it just demon slaughtering land? Isn't it just your hands withering? Xi Yu can even pull back people who are 1 foot stepping into hell." As Zhang Chong spoke, he was about to drag Cai Yu to the direction of Huang medical branch. However, after a few drags, Cai Yu didn't even move a step. Zhang Chong said nervously, "Brother Kai, are you afraid that Xi Yu will still blame you? Don't worry, Xi Yu is a good person. As long as you are willing to admit your mistakes sincerely, Xi Yu will definitely be willing to treat you." Thinking of that amazingly talented young man, Cai Yu showed a complicated and guilty expression. He slowly shook his head, "No, now, I don't want to see Xi Yu yet. The dirty things I did to frame Xi Yu cannot be erased by just saying that I'm manipulated by others. Having done such shameless things before, how can I have the face to let Xi Yu treat me now?" Zhang Chong held Cai Yu's hand tightly and said in a sobbing tone, "Brother Kai, do you still blame me for exposing you? If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be sent to Spirit Extinct Valley, and you wouldn't end up as such now." Cai Yu reached out and lightly pressed Zhang Chong's shoulder, interrupting his words. He showed a cold smile as he said, Zhang Chong, you don't have to feel guilty. I should thank you instead. If it weren't for you, I might still be used like a fool. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't see clearly how stupid I was before. When the three were talking, they suddenly heard Lu Zhishi's excited and affectionate voice not far away. Cai Yu, Cai Yu. It's really you. You finally came out. I'm so worried about you. When they looked over, Lu Zhishi, wearing a low-cut white dress with snow gauze, was walking gracefully toward them. Her skin seemed to be white and transparent under the sun, and there were still slight tear stains on her face, which made people feel pity for her. Beside her were a few students from 4 upper courtyards. Watching Lu Zhishi cry, their eyes were full of fascination and pity. It seemed that as long as it could make her not cry, they were willing to take off the stars in the sky. If Hexi was here at this time, she would have found that the group of boys surrounding Lu Zhishi had deepened their fascination with Lu Zhishi by several times. Now they basically obeyed the words of Lu Zhishi. When Cai Yu saw the woman walking toward him with tears, his pupils constricted suddenly. His originally calm mood seemed to set off monstrous waves. When Cai Yu was exiled to the Spirit Extinct Valley, Cai Yu still hoped that Lu Zhishi would remember his affection for her and come to save him. But what waited in the end was a merciless murder. The person who pushed him into demon slaughtering land looked at him with a mocking face and told him condescendingly that Lu Zhishi didn't want him to live, so he had to die. Chapter 1508, Easy to be deceived. Cai Yu struggled desperately in demon slaughtering land, gave up both arms, swallowed the green bead that Din Huang had given him, and finally escaped from danger. At that time, he still didn't believe that Lu Zhishi would be so ruthless to him. However, a few days later, he met the person who pushed him into demon slaughtering land again in Spirit Extinct Valley. The killer sent by Lu Zhishi couldn't leave Spirit Extinct Valley because he was holding a fake map. The map was changed by Shaoli, so he yelled at Lu Zhishi. Cai Yu subdued him, tortured him to extract a confession, and finally learned all the truth about the matter. Lu Zhishi was really so ruthless and vicious that not only made him take the blame, but she even wanted to silence him forever. This is the woman I had loved deeply for 3 years and is willing to give everything for her. As soon as Zhang Chong saw Lu Zhishi, his expression immediately turned cold. He said with disgust, "What are you doing here? Do you want to harm Brother Cai even more?" Zhang Chong's unceremonious tone made Lu Zhishi's followers look angry. But Lu Zhishi stopped them from retorting. She looked at Cai Yu with tears in her eyes. "Cai Yu, are you blaming me too? Do you also think just like them that I hurt you?" Zhang Chong's face was full of anger, and he wanted to say something, but he was stopped by Cai Yu. Cai Yu walked slowly toward Lu Zhishi. Lu Zhishi felt proud for a moment. Seeing Cai Yu's wasted hands and his regressed cultivation, contempt appeared in her eyes again. If it was before, she wouldn't pay attention to a useless person like Cai Yu. But now that the Academy Student Council was firmly controlled by Jin Ziyu, her prestige in the Academy was almost certainly gone. Cai Yu urgently needed the influence that Cai Yu once served as an officer of the Academy Student Council to help her handle affairs. Fortunately, Cai Yu was just a dog that crawled completely under her feet, very easy to be deceived. As long as she hooked her fingers, he would obediently come over. However, unexpectedly, Cai Yu walked past her without even looking at her. Lu Zhishi felt a burst of resentment, and she quickly turned around and grabbed Cai Yu's sleeve. She clearly felt that when her hand touched Cai Yu's whole body was stiff. His eyes were closed tightly to avoid excitement and emotions overflowed. Lu Zhishi knew right away that Cai Yu still had feelings for her, and she felt even more proud. She put up an aggrieved and sad expression on his face. "Cai Yu, you don't even know how many ways I tried to save you after you were imprisoned in Spirit Extinct Valley. But Xi Yu ruined all my attempts. Because you framed Xi Yu, so he wants to put you to death. I. Seeing you like this now, you don't know how painful I'm." When Zhang Chong heard that she had framed Xi Yu, he became furious immediately. He yelled at Lu Zhishi, "You black-hearted woman, you are the one who framed Brother Kai. Now you actually put the blame on Xi Yu. How vicious can you be, Zhang Chong, keep your mouth clean." Hearing that Zhang Chong insulted Lu Zhishi, those loyalists who had been fascinated by Lu Zhishi's charm were outrageous. "Don't think that Zhishi is kind-hearted, so you can humiliate her casually. Say one more sentence and don't blame me for being rude." Zhang Chong really didn't expect that after the real face of this bitch was exposed, someone would be deceived by her. He was about to attack, but he was stopped by Cai Yu. Chapter 1509, Mind-Controlling Pill. Cai Yu looked at Lu Zhishi with a painful face and said, "I don't blame you, but with my current state, I'm no longer worthy of standing by your side." Lu Zhishi laughed wildly in her heart after hearing that. At the same time, she despised Cai Yu, who looked like a waste to the extreme. But her face was still full of sincerity. She even stepped forward to hold Cai Yu's withered hands. "Cai Yu, you are so kind. I knew you will not blame me." However, because Miracle Healer Academy is now under the influence of Xi Yu, I'm no longer the president of the Academy Student Council. Saying that, Lu Zhishi showed a lonely and sad look. "Cai Yu, you will still stand by my side and help me like before, won't you?" A deep coldness flashed in Cai Yu's eyes, but he said in a hoarse voice, "Of course." When Zhang Chong heard this, he was anxious. "Brother Kai, are you crazy? This woman has put you into such a miserable state, yet you still trust her and go back to help her? She is clearly using you all. Don't be fooled by her." When Lu Zhishi heard the words, tears came to her eyes immediately. She murmured softly, "I know you all believe in Xi Yu now. Zhang Chong, I don't blame you for betraying me and standing by Xi Yu's side, but, how can you say that I frame Cai Yu? Cai Yu, I specially obtained this precious muscle regan pill from my father. Although it cannot restore your cultivation and spells, your hands can recover as before. I'm willing to do so many things for you, how could I frame you?" The men beside Lu Zhishi immediately glared at Zhang Chong. If it was before, they would still be afraid that Zhang Chong was Xi Yu's person and dare not say too much, but now they had been bewitched by Lu Zhishi and her voodoo temptation, obeying her command completely. Several people even drew their long swords and were about to attack Zhang Chong. The muscle regan pill was indeed very useful. As soon as he took it, his withered hands regained senses. Cai Yu gritted his teeth and pushed Zhang Chong away with a cold face. "Don't talk anymore. I went back with Zhishi on my own accord. I don't need to meddle in my matter. You should go back quickly." Zhang Chong was stunned for a moment. He murmured with widened eyes, "Cai Yu, what the mind-controlling pill did this woman feed you?" Din Huang also lowered his face and looked at Cai Yu coldly. "Cai Yu, you'd better think clearly. If you return to Hong Medical Branch with me now, I will still treat you as my favorite disciple. One day, you will make some achievements in forging," but before he finished speaking, Lu Zhishi sneered, "Din Huang doesn't have to worry. With the strength of our Doctors Association, I will arrange a better mentor for Cai Yu." "Yeah, how can a mere Hong Medical Branch be compared with our Pioneer Branch and Doctors Association?" A burst of laughter and sarcasm made Din Huang's face turn green and pale. Because of Lu Xuyang and the Doctors Association's backing, now Lu Zhishi and her group were becoming more and more arrogant. They didn't even put the elders in their eyes. But because of Lu Xuyang, they could only let Lu Zhishi act arrogantly. Cai Yu closed his eyes, turned around, and bowed deeply to Din Huang. "Thank you Din Huang for your concern, but I still decided to stay at the Pioneer Branch and stay with Zhishi." A smug smile appeared on Lu Zhishi's face. Din Huang was full of disappointment. He shook his head and said, "It's your choice." You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.